Welcome back to Metrunner Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. I just turned off the air conditioning. Let's get cooking. How's everyone doing? It has been a wild week of Netrunner. It will be a wilder week the week after. After that, probably even wilder. The week after that, probably wilder even. And then after that, we will calm down. It'll take us about 4 weeks. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Andre. Hey, Paul. Cephalopod, how's it going? I want that netcat. I've seen that netcat. That's a cute netcat. We'll see more about that. I don't think that's spoiled yet, is it? Andrew, how's it going? Orbital, so many scoops. I want to say off the top here that this is not a scoop stream exactly. Like, well, it is. The Metrunner Grid has some scoops, but those are scheduled in a video to be released on Monday. I just want to address that off the top. If you're here to see like fresh new scoops, no, sorry. We're here to talk about the other scoops that have happened this week because there's been a lot going on for the last week. But the Metrunner Grid exclusive, like unique scoops, that will be on a video released Monday, probably sometime in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So we're getting there. I've recorded the video last night. I have to do some of the voiceover for the intro tonight after this, and I thought I was going to be here on the weekend, and I'm not. So it's going to be it's a bit of a mess, but we'll get it out Monday, as we said. It's going to be good. Jinglets, how's it going? Scoops are secondary. We're here to see your beautiful mug. Oh, thank you, Orbital. Really much appreciated. On that note, speaking about my mug, I'm speaking a bit different. I've had Invisalign added into my mouth just yesterday. So speaking is like actually a fair bit more difficult than it has been at any point in my life for a while now. It is a bit uncomfortable right now. My teeth are a bit messed up, and this is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's going to take about 72 weeks before I get regular boy teeth. The doctor said I was a near surgical case. It's weird out there. Let me tell you. Well, I haven't seen any yet. That's just fine. Andrew, really? Samwise, hey, how's it going? Also, I just want to say, I'm going to be shouting it out today, of course, but I've really enjoyed catching in your daily stuff. I'm watching right now the one that you just did with, Is it Baram, Ed, and then Doomrat? I think it was. Hey, Pat, sorry we only played 2 games last stream, but hopefully Andre can get 7 or 8 games tonight. Pat, there's a chance that we're going to play no games tonight. There's legitimately a chance. Like, there's a deck list of the week. We'll probably do it. I'm pretty surprised Netrunner DB didn't just, like, paste this over and said talk about other stuff. No offense, Gronkov, always a pleasure. We got to talk Pad Tap. Andre needs more games. Second, how's it going? I said that, excuse me. Yeah, Patrick, but also if he doesn't play at least 1 game with deck of the week, I know someone who will be really sad. I don't even know who that is anymore. I think we've really lost the plot here about why we do the things we do. And at this point, it just feels like a bit of a religion. I'm going to hit this button, and you're going to see some cards flash by. Ignore those cards. Those weren't scoops. That was just Essa. But that's just how the setup works now. Another issue. I have elastics in my mouth now, and I haven't been laughing a lot, and I'm pretty sure on the stream I laugh a lot. It's going to be bad. I don't know what's going to happen, but I've already felt my mouth kind of trying to destroy itself, so... Definitely not scoops. No, that's not scoops. That's not scoops. Scoop. Solemn, how's it going? We don't have any scoops today. Come back on Monday. We'll talk about the scoops. We'll have a good time tonight. I promise you that. On that note, another scoop on top of our scoop, speaking because John Verrill is here in chat, we have a stream that's scheduled. Not only do we have a scoop video that'll be out on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitch, follow the YouTube channel, I guess. Hit a notification. It'll push you where it comes out. Marketing. But we have on the 23rd, which is a Saturday, the day after this new set comes out. So the new set drops on the 22nd, which is a Friday. On the 23rd, starting at about 10:30, 11 in the morning, sometime in the morning Eastern Standard Time. We'll let you know more next week. We'll actually be playing and doing a live stream with the new cards on a tabletop, which is something we haven't done here in a really long time. In fact, we're actually not doing it here. John has very kindly provided his space, and John is in chat. John does some streaming on his own. You can see him on twitch.tv/ I think it's just John Verrill, his name, but also the RPG Clinic. That's all it is, right, John? RPG Clinic, nothing to it. But he has a setup, and he's kindly offered me and Pat are going to drop by. And so we'll actually have tabletop games with all of the cards, 65 cards. So we'll be trying out the different archetypes. We'll be streaming for a couple hours. It's John's space, so it's going to look a bit different than this for sure. I'm super stoked. So that is on the 23rd in the morning. Thank you. Tabletop Hype / John Verrill and / RPG Clinic. I'll have those in the show notes down too if you want to check it out. John does some RPG streaming. I'm really excited. Nelson, hey, how's it going? Giles, yo, did you share a picture of Cookie Puss? Because I didn't realize how much Cookie Puss looked like Nanako. They're probably friends, if not related. It was very cute. Okay. I'm looking forward to in-person play. For real, though, like, we haven't had enough in-person Netrunner play, let alone, like, seeing... I don't know. We got a nice message a while ago from Nisei saying, like, the first time that they got to see, some of their designers got to see their cards hit a table was on one of our streams when we, like, did an early stream of Ashes when we got some early cards. And, like, we really want to do that. We want to try the cards out. Like, again, this is not just a set. It's a set with, like, multiple new mechanics. And some of these mechanics are actually quite hard to kind of figure out how they work or how they're going to feel. So, yeah. That was the cook helping me sort for rotation. Yeah, exactly. That's the post. Yeah, that's really cute. In-person play on the channel will be so sick. Really looking forward to it. Gronkov, hey, how's it going? Why did you do a decklist of the week? We wanted to talk about the new cards. Now we have to do this? That was very inconsiderate. Cactus, how's it going? Evening. I know, right? Okay, my mouth is pulling itself apart. We'll get through this. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play the decklist of the week because Gronkov has his deck. It actually looks pretty good. It's an Asmari deck, which we have not played Asmari on this channel in this year. I don't even think we played Asmari on the channel maybe last year. It's an ability, an identity that came out in the Katara cycle, he says confidently, and it was banned for a while and has retained. It's been banned since before Worlds where Nisei unbanned it. Talking about banning stuff, we'll catch up on the new most wanted list. Rob, rude, never. Kat, I'm excited to see more of your art in the set. I know it's in there. Thank you for streaming through the pain. I got no choice. I honestly, this is my life now. The worst. It's probably pretty stupid to hear about somebody who's receiving proper orthodontic treatment complaining about the situation. But they put like metal in my mouth and I'm not used to it. I have no doubt I'll get used to it. So like the insides of my cheeks are getting cut up because there's like pins that they attach elastics to. It's been a couple days. Apparently Jua is secretly an effed up card. I would believe it. I think Jua is like, in a world of MK Ultra, this obviously interacts really well with heat breakers, but on its own, it's a 2 credit thing that they break for 3 credits. You can't let this fire. I think this is actually in some ways, it depends. Unlike the early game, it might not matter. But in the late game or the mid game, like it's a disastrous thing. Like Anarchs are paying 3 credits for this. I guess it's not that bad for criminals, but we'll see. Yeah, bandless talk. I've been playing 3 hard-hitting news, 1 EOI on JNet since less max overall. This one's on 2 hard-hitting news and 2 exchange. Interesting. Why did the max call out specifically? Oh no, I just made my thumbnails for the daily cast and last one realized I was off on my left margin by 5 pixels. What do you mean? Just made thumbnails for the daily casts and the last one realized. Sangren, are the daily casts on YouTube or are they just on Twitch? Yeah, those 5 pixels will haunt you. Max is broken in half and Maw hits your EOI every time. Oh, okay. So we want to just play all extra copies of this because Maw is hitting them and then you lose your win condition. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, we're going to slightly try and speedrun this because there's a lot to talk about today. But this is the Nazmari EdTech deck. It is a 40 card minimum. That was a novel thing back in the day before System Gateway where that was just kind of normal at this point. And these sort of decks were like really weird because they could play 6 3-pointers, which is 18 agenda points, and make it really miserable where the runner needs to steal half of the agendas in the corporation's deck where the corporation could score 2 of them. And then on top of it, score something called, at the time it was like Echo Chamber. Which is a fake agenda that a corporation has access to, the runner doesn't. They have to trash it. And these are really mean decks. As Mari, mind you, has an ability that is quite strong. It is, I would say, nearly guaranteed to get you a heck of a lot of money. You can always play around this by trying to play multiple of the same things that the corporation calls with this call. The calls for this, I think I'm not particularly good at. I don't think I'm brave enough. Some people actually like change and pivot between like, oh, I'm going to call program now because they need to run. I usually just coast and keep it on like event or resource, whatever I think the matchup is. Not great. I could probably do better. But this is a cool ability. It's a lot of money. Back in the day too, this was paired with a current called Scarcity of Resources, which made things really miserable because your resources cost 2 extra credits to play. And then if you played an event, you gave the corporation 2 credits. Pad Tab was around back then. Yeah, it was, but Scarcity, yeah, okay, it still hurts. As Mario goes burr, Winnegon. Yeah, it should be okay. This is not playing that sort of agenda suite. We have a bit of a wider agenda suite. 9 agendas, not that different. And we're playing basically the 3 big pointers, or we're playing big 3-pointers. We have Bologna and Global Food. And then we have a lot of small little tricks. We have a 15 minutes, which is really easy for us to score. Quantum Predictive Model, which is nigh impossible for the runner to steal unless they want to trash it. Because just about everything we do gives tags, and a tomorrow's headline, which is cheeky. And the idea is that we want to score out an early 1-pointer. Hopefully we don't have to pay for it if it's a quantum predictive model. And then later on in the game, we bury them by tags by playing hard-hitting news, and then end the game by either booming them or going ahead and exchanging information to change a 1-pointer for a 3-pointer. That can win you the game. It's very rude as well. Top of that, we have 3 economic warfare, which I don't think I would respect against Asmari. I'm generally a bit scared to play against Asmari. They're not very fast decks, so runners do have some time to set up. Admittedly, the daily quest might like kind of push the issue. We'll see. Hey, Solomir, how's it going? Honk. The honk is because of the economic warfare goose, right? Or the doc. It's a goose. Ed pointed out that my Twitch streams have hundreds of views, so should maybe put them somewhere more permanent. Even most people won't watch them after this week. Yasengrin, you definitely should. It's pretty easy to pull them onto YouTube. I reckon you know how to do that. If not, hit me up. But yeah, your Twitch, just like my Twitch, doesn't keep the VODs for over, I think, a month. So having that on as a history is actually really quite cool. You're putting on YouTube now. Fantastic. And I'm going to some background art and misposition it slightly. Seems okay, but loses to Chestushka. I'm really interested if that's true. We don't have that much recursion. We have a small deck. That's technically Chestushka poison, so we'll see. My goose economic warfares must always be used. Twitch holds VODs that aren't saved for 2 weeks unless you're partnered, I think. John, I think I have it for a month. Maybe that's different. I'm definitely not partnered. I think I'm like, I was offered the tier above like person off the street. Like where they're like, oh, you people watch your thing, I guess. But they didn't say like, here's money or whatever. I'm really loving Midnight Spoilers Sun spoiler season. It's been really good. It's been very, very, very cool. We have new mechanics. A lot of these mechanics are very interesting where they actually like engender conversation. We've seen now all the identities. We'll get to this. We just got to do this for Rob. It's all for Rob. We do this always for Rob. Let's copy this in. I'll admit that I haven't checked recently. Solom says affiliate. Yeah, that's the term. I think we're affiliate. I think. It's been years. I don't. PogChamp. Let's go. Spoiler season is so dense, like every card will be revealed over 10-ish days. It's like a smaller set compared to obviously like a full cycle, but also like Nisei did release 7 cards in the Midnight Sun, booster pack. So it's only 58 cards. He does the math quickly. So it's a bit smaller, but like we've seen most of everything. I think by the time that I do my spoilers on Monday, we'll know every criminal card besides 1, which lets you know how many spoilers I have. It's more than 1. It's less than 10. 4 up. Asmari. Ob Super Heavy is 1, Metal AF name, and 2 was my gears turning, thinking of decks. I love it. I think Ob is probably the most fascinating and the one that I'm most like interesting to play. I think it's incredibly dependent on the cards that it gets to support, and Nisei's only showed 1 card so far that's like directly supports its archetype. But if you see more things like border control, like, oh my god, border control on its own is like something else too. Gateway was too long, especially for a core set. I barely remember how long it was. Oh, we said that we make some changes to the deck and play 3 hard hitting these. Let's see if we can do that real quick. 1 second. They give some Shaper cards, those magnificent bastards. They tried to give me those Shaper cards. And I didn't say no. I said, I don't play Shaper that good. And they're like, I guess we're going to give it to Slums. As a joke. We'll do this. Border control to get Crisium and watch APOC cry. Oh, that is really cool, Cat. Just like remembering the numbers on things are going to be really important. We'll talk about what that is in a second. Ooh, Valencia. Neat. She generally wants to run 50 cards as well. Just Testushka Tech. Opening hand, we have a single ping. We have an early Rashida. We can also, I think we'll keep this hand. If we like top deck into another ice, we'll be in a good spot. Good thing about keeping the hedge fund is if she does like a mining accident early, which I don't know. It's been such a long time since I played from Val. The one thing we definitely have to watch out for is Rebirth and DJ Fenris, but I think we're going to try to push an early Rashida with the ping. -1 EOI cry. Rongi, Rob told us to do it. Said that there wasn't enough max out there. I think they don't even spoil everything in Gateway. I think Gateway there was a couple surprises, but most of the surprises were like the van that sells hardware. It was like, whatever. I don't think that, maybe that one was actually spoiled early. No, it was. No one is on max on Jaina. Okay, so we're just gonna go for the remote. The blown in hand, whatever, they steal it. We have an EOI trigger at some point. If we score that, ooh, we have to call something. I'm gonna call event. Unlikely they'll drop a program unless it's an imp. Resource is also a possibility, but a lot of times, like, if it's just like credit into Liberated, that's fine. What do you think about this keep? 9 out of 10? Fantastic. There you go. It's a Wildcat Strike. We called events, so we got money. They can get 6 credits, I guess. She doesn't have a lot of good card draw. She has 50 cards. I don't want to give them card draw, but they're going to play a lot of events in a single turn, which is fantastic. They hit the Blownish. She can steal it. It's 4 credits only with the bad publicity, so it's not too bad of a steal, but then there is like a credit disparity. It actually could be a pretty short game if we end up like triggering the Rashida, drawing into like a economic warfare, hard-hitting news, and then this boom stays. So they're going to take it. Mind you, the money did come back in with the dirty laundry. Are you saying your green boat meta? I am so excited for boat. I am so excited for boat. Actually, yeah, I guess there's 2 green boats. I'm excited for all the green boats. Okay. We have a Jua. Cody, you got scoops today? No, a high polished video on Monday. Today we're going to talk about scoops, but the video should be on Monday. I have to finish the high polished part. I did the talking part. It's okay. How's it going, by the way? I drew Wildcat Strike as the last card in the stack last night. Not a lot of choices there. Okay, so what do we do here? Jua on its own could return Earthrise, which is good. We could ice up everything. Hydro's probably on the scoring remote. Keeping on the outside is a bit risky because of sort of things that they want to do with Hippo. I think we're just going to do this. Oh, we have to pre-res this. Hold on. I'm going to keep saying event. Purpose boat Vibo. I thought you were Czech, not Polish. I'm not sure what that has to do with it. I'm not sure what that has to do. I'm confused what's happening. The boat looks really fun, but I also love her little dog. I think the dog, I don't know how to pronounce the dog's name. It's Edie or Eddie. I'd probably install Spindo and Res for HHN, then install Bologna Remote Second Ice. Interesting. Yeah, I think opening with a Spin Doctor was quite fine. I don't think they were going to run that turn. They threw a Paperclip and MK Ultra, but we want to really push the issue. Like, I don't get like the daily quest in this remote server because we have a window to score. This is an issue I always have with daily quests, is that when we have a remote, like a scoring window, I generally, I don't think we would have drawn it. I think we were one short. You think it's Edie, not Eddie? Oh, it's a high Polish joke. Okay. Oh, I see what you did. Ping Hydra is good, but this is like the point where we have to overinstall a remote server, and it's really quite awkward. It's fine, just override and jam. Well, now we're jamming Quantum, which is like really kind of ugly. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like what's happening here. It's Edie for sure, just like Falco. Okay. I think Edie Falco was an actress. I'm not actually sure. I actually looked up Edie's name from Run Last Click, and it was spelled E-A-D-I-E. But I think that might be Welsh or something. Are they going to talk more about Edie, Lori? I see you're enjoying life, Andre. Pick one. How's it going? I heard your voice the other day. It was nice on the daily cast. I'm doing okay. I just got Invisalign in my teeth, so there's a bunch of like plastic and elastics, and talking is honestly like a bit rubbish, but we're doing quite okay. Poimo came down, Black Orchestra and MK Ultra, so all breakers are here. This could look like an APOC list. So far, there's nothing that's like a permanent solution. So like we might have overextended on the remote servers, but we're not seeing like, you know, a maw or anything like that. So I think we might actually just be APOC sooner than later. So we'll score this out, unfortunately. And at least if that goes off, we have something to do. You don't know Carmela Soprano? I don't think I do. QPM remote and hard hitting news? They didn't run Vincent, so we can't. Okay, this now does not look like APOC. That is only 2 influence for Paragon's always pretty surprising. But now they're definitely going to want to run. The bad publicity from plus the credit from this goes pretty far. So we might actually see a mining accident here. Rashida gets trashed. That's our last Rashida. Now they're running this. I think we're going to shuffle this. Otherwise, it only costs them 1 credit. We might as well get some stuff back in our deck. I'm going to do the money from the hedge fund. And I think a Rashida. Remember mining accident? What a card. It's still around. How's Rob's deck doing so far, Jankovic? How's it going? By the way, put in an order for Kokosa. Yes, super excited. Why did they take a tag? Oh, they took this last click. Oh, if we could top deck an exchange. I'm doing good. I had my best Arkham Horror game of all time on Tuesday online. It was pretty incredible. Straight up incredible. We're playing on hard and we're really trying, and it's good. It's really cool. We're now on game point. Rob, what's going on here? This is where I feel like the tightrope and tightrope as Mari is going to show up. Now they can get through, not really. Like if we install advanced this, we're leaving R&D open, which at this point seems a bit too late. We could hard hitting news here, but it's pretty ugly. I don't think we throw the book at them because 17 to 10, they can clear the tags. I see you're not skill enough to stack the top of R&D. Bologna's been enhanced since turn 1. I know, but like, I don't feel like we can push it now. Like we have to slow roll it, which is really ugly. So like if we res this for 8 on R&D, it's really quite bad for us. But we have to stop them from making cheap runs with like this sort of thing. And I don't want to put this in remote server because that's also quite ugly. So we could put this and just kind of go. I'm going to put this on archives at least. It plays around some things. What's remote ice? It's Hydra into ping, which is pretty good. Like that's 5 credits and this is a lot. Fluffy, how's it going? We got 2 credits from this. They can gain 6. I would have just thrown the book to send their econ to 0. I don't feel like it would send our econ to 0. I think if we did that, we'd also have to do the daily quest. Maybe that was possible. Oh, Thimblerig's good. I think we're just going to jam this. And hope that they can't do it. Yeah, just jam seems about right. I'm going to do an event here in case they play like an overclock, which would be really good with all 3 breakers in the bin. Fun ass over archives and just tossing all your KPIs is fun time. How's it going, Town Drunk? Yeah, that's actually totally true. We could do it. I just don't know if they're ever going to run. Career Fair to start. Looks like they might not be running this turn, which is going to put us on game point. Our list does not have NGO front, so anything that we install advanced, the question is like, is it a Bologna or is it a QPM? It's not, is it an NGO front? But now they actually have more money than us. So, did you discuss the changes to the startup format last week? Yes, we did, Chris. I think I'm pretty positive that it is a larger format in general. This is pretty weak to Boomerang. I think if we put down the daily quest, they're just not going to run it. It's obviously money, which is good. 2 hard hitting news seems a bit greedy, but I think it's going to be like, we'll take 1 to like slow them down and another 1 to end them. Thimblerig is quite good. It's 3 credits for them to break until they play Namakua. Whatever. All right, so we're on game point 2. Install advanced events they have to run. Hopefully we get them on a QPM. Wow. That is surprising. That is just going to happen. If we res the Jua here, they'd have to break it. Interestingly, it says when the runner encounters Jua, they cannot install cards for the remainder of the turn. That does not trigger the, what's it called? They're installing the MK Ultra because their on encounter happens first. So they can install the MK Ultra. When runners get the food or a headline, it feels like hard mode. Yeah, I kind of like, this is a really easy thing for us to put in a remote server. I think we're definitely fighting uphill. So they just break for 3. Again, they're getting 1 back. They paid 1 for bad publicity. Let's spend the whole turn here. Hopefully we keep just a hard-hitting news. We don't have any archive memories for the boom. Oh, well, that was kind of like the perfect keep in some ways. What are we doing on 20 credits? We can drop into 16. It's not good. It's not that good. We just got Chistushkad. Okay. Interesting that we also don't have pub. Remote cost them $1 million? Yeah, I know, but we need to put something in it. I'm gonna put this on HQ. Draw for remote play. Yeah, maybe we want to draw once more here. I kind of want to bait them into run. They've drawn through 20 cards. Rebirth again is at some point. We have a toll booth here, which is a lot of money, and we need to keep our money above theirs. They've only played 1 liberated so far. A lot of their money might be tied into things like dirty laundry, stuff like that. So I think there's definitely events in hand. Come on, QPM, 15 minutes, good enough. But I think we want to do install advance with the QPM. I don't think we want to just install it, just so that they think it could be game and consider running it. So I think we can't do that this turn. Install advance, maybe if they think we're on like a seamless, but they might know the deck list. Looking forward to learning how to pronounce a bunch of Russian words. So my family is from former Yugoslavia. They're Slovenian, but they are Slavs. So there's a lot of these sort of words that I have an understanding how to say at least. If it's a QPM, they won't run it. I got offered from a player from our meta who is Russian. If I need help with pronunciation, I can't fully roll my R, but there's a lot of words that I think will get pretty close. So res the funhouse. They're just running archives here. I'm worried what it is. I'll just res this. They'll probably bounce off of this. This, mind you, cost us 12 credits, which is a lot. Oh, Nanako, Maddie's not here. Who's going to feed you? Playing against a Maverick, ID of the deck list of the week. I can imagine some people would check. Yeah, maybe. But I think if you're playing on JNet Casual, you're likely to run in the deck anyways. So you probably just know it if you've been playing this week. I don't think myself, I'm like that big of a target. So Maddie's out. So we're going to have to take a break at like 10 o'clock for like 2 minutes just to feed the little cat. Oh, this is a really small meow. That's true. That's so true. So true. I don't know when Maddie's going to be back, but it's past dinner time. That's for sure. All right, they have a modicum of credits, 26 to our 17. We're going to just throw money at each other. This will cost them a lot. I think this is 12 credits. Adam jams a lot of games in my time zone. Yeah, they probably played against us then. I don't know how popular the deck list of the week is on any active week on the basis that I'm generally playing it. So it's hard to like queue into it that often. Sorry, man, I'm streaming. I can't hang out right now. You want to come say hi, maybe? Doesn't seem pleased. They're thinking. They might let us fire. If they fire, we just gain 5 credits back and end the run. Because the first part doesn't actually trigger, which is, you know, we kind of need the money. If they pivot at R&D, the only thing we can res is an IP block. Same for HQ, but then we'll kind of be destitute. Because they have to math out like what it will cost for them to run this and still have Bologna bucks. Or like go through this and have a QPM. Fire all. That's actually good. We need the money. Just realized that the ID Atom's likely machine learning pun. The Atom optimizer. There's the Stargate. Okay. That's potentially disastrous, but the QPMs are pretty safe here. Here is a fork. I think we need to force their money out. I think we have to spend everything. Sorry, Nana, I can't. Come say hi. She definitely doesn't want to say hi. I'm surprised they could have just traced through that. I'm surprised they pulled the breaker out. Continue to approach ice. Well, we don't need any money. This will cost them at least 3. And if they want to break it through, it's another 3 for install. And then another 6. So their money is also kind of gone. They will get 1 off the Paragon. We'll see what they hit here too. QPM, Surveyor, Spin Doctor. So the QPM is entirely safe. That's really cute. Spin Doctor is probably what's going to go here. She wants something impossible to know. What's your guess for a big deal? I have some ideas. Let's just say that. They trashed the Spin Doctor. Okay, so the QPM is actually safer on HQ because we have nothing that causes a tag, but it's an agenda that they're not really excited to score. They are exactly on hard-hitting news level. If we do credit economic warfare hard-hitting news, we could do it. They will have 8 credits. We only have, what? 1 more Spin Doctor, so our recursion is pretty low. So we could consider it. We could do credit. We go down to 0, which is pretty bad. But this puts them down to 0. This gives us there. And then we hit them with 4 tags. Now we can't even like boom. The best thing is like if they stick and they don't clear all the tags this turn, exchange of information is like pretty wild. They're tagged from the Hydra? No, they cleared a tag, right? I'm pretty sure they cleared a tag. They must have, right? Because otherwise the IP block. Oh, actually, no. Did they not? Exchange is 0? Yeah, but Hardying uses terminal. It ends our turn. We can't exchange into Hardying needs into exchange. Don't they win if they don't we win if they just can't clear? Exchange wins you the game? No, it doesn't. Oh yes, exchange score wins us the game. We should have just scored this. We should have just scored this, that's for sure. What am I doing? I should have scored that. Let's hope that doesn't matter. But they can clear, right? 4 credits. Oh man, why didn't I score this? Hold on, we should have scored this. If we don't win because we didn't score this, I'm gonna feel so bad. Because we could have scored this. I forgot. I thought we had to invest more time into this. Such a BM. I know. Yeah, you assumed it was a QPM. I think they might too. The thing is, like, if it's a QPM, they're not going to run it this turn. Half an eye on work. Yeah, it seems like half my eye is on your work too, apparently. So they know there's a QPM in hand. Oh, man. I don't think they had a tag at the end of last turn. No, they didn't have a tag. They cleared the tag. They hit the Hydra, they cleared a tag, and they Stargated. They definitely didn't end their turn with the tag. It's harder to miss the exclamation mark. And then they would be on 5 here, right? Maybe they assume EOI isn't game? I don't think they can clear all the tags, right? Like, they would have to need a Deuce as Wild or something pretty wild in hand. So the question is they're trying to figure out how to win this turn. IP block requires 3, so like this is a no-go. So I think they have to run their remote server, but actually the Hydra is kind of a no-go here. So the Hydra is kind of really safe here. They could maybe consider overclocking it, and we wouldn't have enough money for ping. Oh, you're all good. So yeah, definitely scoring that was the right play. By a mile. Unless they think it's an NGO front, which it's a bit of a mess. Another Wanson's their only hope. Another Wanson is a possibility. But they might be scared that we'd like res an NGO front and like res something big here. At 8, it can't be a Hydra. It could be like a toll booth, but yeah. If they have another one, that'd be pretty good. They only have 3 cards in hand. Winning was the right play here. Yeah, sometimes. We couldn't have won last turn. The question is like if they steal this, we can't win next turn. We can shuffle it back and just have a longer game. Again, for Rob. 2x deuces? Yeah, 2x deuces could do it. We called event, so like they're way more likely to run deuces than anything like networking or misdirection. I think deuces would have to be it. It's really hard to count the influence in a Val deck because she has 50 cards. You're assuming probably 2 Paragons. They're drawing. Ooh. Ooh. I'm just hoping they think this is like a slow roll Bologna, that they can't like get through Hydra and steal 5. But if it's a Bologna, we would have won last turn, so it can be a Bologna. Never mind. I hope I corrected that before the chat gets at me from the difference. But if winning was the right play last turn, like I feel like we didn't follow it. Adam's drawing up. One bad publicity, the Paragon. Archives iced up a bit nicely. Again, this doesn't end the run. If they rebirth, they can go through this. They know they can't steal. They're doing it. They're overclocking. Please not the remote. If they overclock the remote, I'm going to lose my mind. They're over... Shit. Wait, we got 2 credits. That might be the difference? I think that might be the difference because we can res the ping. I think we'll be fine. I think because we got the Asmari credits because of the overclock. Hey, Loot. Hello from Australia, Andre. Super excited to see you, Net Celebrity, again. Thank you. I hope I never lost it, but how's it going? Cringe? This is not cringe. They actually might not break all of this. They might break only 6 of this, and then they have enough money. We'll see. They're at 5, so they've broken nothing. So they have to do 3 more. Oh no, they have exactly enough. Shit. And we're 1 short of doing credit, boom. Wait, what fires? This isn't a chore at all, Rob. It was never a chore. For you, it was never a chore. Shit, we could have won. Okay, so if we res this, they just gain a tag, which is like fine. It costs them 1 credit, which is worse for us because like there's no top deck that we could score off. We're not running anything that will give us money here. You can credit boom. No, we can't. Boom's a double. We can't. We need to do credit boom. Oh, we are so silly. No, this deck doesn't have planogram. Planogram would be like one of the few outs. Well, we're shuffling that back. Actually, I don't even know if we're shuffling it back. I might have wanted to score that. Yeah, if we're on 6, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Oh boy. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine. No. We don't have HPT. Banned. Card is banned. What are you talking about? We're definitely going to want exchange sooner than later. So we're just going to go do this for that. For that. Okay. Then we can shuffle that back. And then we can click for credit. That will put us on perfect. Do we need to shuffle it back? Yeah, because they could maybe steal Bologna. That seems unlikely. But now the problem is they can score. Click for credit, install QPM exchange is pretty forced win. Click for credit, install. Oh, yes. Yes, I think, oh, you're right. We shouldn't have shuffled that back in. We definitely just installed this because that forks either way. Yeah, I'm just going to undo that. Yeah, that's fine. They can find a Bologna. If they find a Bologna, they win. You're right. This is perfect. Yeah, huge. They have no cards in hand. So they know we have a QPM. That's a QPM in the remote server. So the ping is pretty good. It is. Yeah, they still have to get into R&D, which is pretty difficult. So we don't have to worry about them hitting the Bologna. Or the food, too, would be like a 1 in 15. But again, how are they going to get through that? The best case scenario, they could be draw, rebirth, run with Omar from archives, hit off the top of the deck. It could be Bologna. It could be, they could win it with any 3-pointer off the top of the deck. Yeah, only Bologna's behind a booth. So they would have to top deck like this card or the next card, if I'm not mistaken, rebirth to have a chance here. Yeah, I was a bit too cautious. They only have an option to clear 3 tags, so you don't plan on the boom. No, we don't plan on the boom. We definitely want to plan on the fork here. If they don't clear the tags, we can do credit boom for like absolute rudeness, or we can just like score the kitten out. Fine either way. This is a cool NBN fork. Deck is cool. Rob is a good guy. I'm so sorry. I can't feed you till 10. You know that. It's in like half an hour. Is this what Maddie puts up with when I'm streaming? No, you snuggle. I know you snuggle. Why won't you snuggle me? Poor little cat's jealous of this cat. Third for a draw. They know we have a QPM in hand, so they're less likely. Ooh, overclock R&D. I swear to God. Wait, there's no way. They can't. Can they? If we lose to this. Oh, how is Glide? Yeah. They have to break this. They can't trace this because they are tagged. Quick math. So they have 11. So this is 3. This is 6, 9. I think they're short 1, right? You got a Quantum Kitty off screen? Yes. It's very shy old man. Didn't get fed till 10 p.m. I think I probably moaned a bit. We got fed at like 7. Just enough. I really didn't think it was. They have 8. Isn't this 3, 6, 7, 8, 9? Oh, +1. Yes. They have just enough. Yeah. Okay, so they can't steal Bologna. The only thing that wins them here is a food. It's a 1 in 15. And if they win that, they're just better than us. That's fine. They found a line. Safe behind a toll booth. Oh, food doesn't win? That's true. I've played this game before. Food is not a real 3-pointer. GG. Okay, chat, we doing boom or we doing score out? Come on. What are we doing? Yeah, I'm gonna do the kitty. I'm gonna feed the kitty. Everyone says boom. Jesus, chat delay. It's not good there. Everyone said boom. Good game. That was fun. The 6-second delay, I was too awkward waiting with the winning thing on the table. I felt like a dick. Can't spell BM without boom. Heyo. I thought the 50 minutes was GFI. Ooh. I was hoping you'd think it's... yeah, the balloon doesn't make sense. I could have scored that. Let's call it that. We'll call it that. Yeah. If we had a food there, we win, though, because we scored out. Like, it couldn't have been a food. Violence is the question. The answer is yes. Yeah, sorry if I disappointed you there. The boom looks very similar. It just says you win. Thanks for the game. That was cool. Hey, you too. Catch your end. That was pretty cool. How good is Funhouse? It seems pretty good. If we're looking at the agendas left in our deck, like it's very few. The quantum predictive model is entirely safe, and this deck runs very few agendas. It only needs 18. So there's one food and then a Bologna. So they needed to hit the Bologna 1 in 15. That is a big meow. Okay, Nana, 20 minutes, we'll feed you, okay? Just 20. I don't know who's in charge here. And that worries me sometimes. Okay. Decklist of the week is cool. Do y'all want to go through some news? Meow. I think you ended that turn on 2 credits after booth res, so couldn't have scored out a 5-3. No, because Janktivist, I think that was the turn that we did, we had the hard-hitting news, which means we had 3 credits, right? Oh no, but we had 2, you're right, because we credited to hard-hitting news. Yeah, you're totally right. It could have been a Bologna. I just thought like 3 credits, we had it, but you're right, we had to click for credit. Pretty news week slash smash that splash screen. Do I even have one? Cool, I guess I do. Okay, so Nisei, if you've been living under a Netrunner rock, there's a new set coming out, and so Nisei has been releasing like basically 1 to 3 articles every day for the last couple days, starting on Sunday. I'm gonna do a quick enough recap of everything going backwards, starting from Sunday. And let me tell you, Sunday feels like it's been a Netrunner year ago. Is that just me? It feels like it was a really long time ago, and maybe a lot of that was just I was so antsy to be like, I can't wait for the stream so we can talk about stuff. But maybe it was just me. So we're gonna go backwards. Starting on Sunday, which is when this all started, with an article from Lori talking about a change to a term in the game. Here we go. To the core. Okay. Long enough article here. It shows off 1 new card, but the big idea here is that Nisei is going forward and is discontinuing the use of the word brain damage. Brain damage is one of the 3 kinds of damage, if you've learned Netrunner from the last like 12 years or so, which is a permanent damage. You still have to discard a card from hand, and it permanently reduces your hand size by how many brain damages you take it on. Now, Nisei has found 2 big things. Firstly, they have found the term brain damage to be pretty discomforting and alienating potentially to parts of the audience that have or live or suffer, I don't know the proper term, excuse me, for like traumatic brain injuries. It is something that people were upset about, people at the end of the game talking and like joking about the brain damage and stuff like that. So they're going ahead and changing the name to core damage, which is the name that it came up with. And the really exciting thing here is that core damage is going to be a term that's used to represent any sort of damage in the game that is permanent and has a lasting impact on a runner. So that's not only now just like traumatic brain injury, which is largely how it's been used, but can represent just about anything. And that really opens up the play space of what kind of cards we can design. I think there's an exact sentence here that describes what it is. I'm going to search the word spiritual. Yeah. It fundamentally changes the kind of damage that fundamentally changes the runner physically, psychologically, or even spiritually. Core damage might be the sacrifice you're willing to make to start a revolution, like Light the Fire, which is now reprinted with Suffer 1 core damage, or wasting away that happens when you're jacked in too long. And they show the first technically sort of new kind of card from Midnight Sun, which is called Running Hot, which is largely a direct reprint of an existing card that is rotating out called Amped Up, which is exactly this card, word for word, influence for influence, just with the text change of course, brain to core damage, and this cannot be prevented is removed from it. So this damage actually can be prevented. There's currently only 1 card, I believe, in standard or startup that can prevent core damage, which is Caldera. So that's that. Let me check my chat. Got back into Netrunner with Neeson, haven't been enjoying your content, finally catching a stream. Hey David, how's it going? Solkovich. Just got home from playing in person, super casual for the first time in years. I missed this game. What did you end up playing? Welcome back to the game. It can't be prevented because it's a cost, as an additional cost. Oh, huge. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. So it is a direct reprint because the other one just says suffer 1 core damage. This is as an additional cost the player's event takes. So you can't avoid that because you're not paying the cost. Very huge shout out here. There's a huge conversation on Reddit about this change specifically. Nisei said this is what's happening, this is what's changing, and there's a lot of people that felt like the term brain damage was like very integral to Cyberpunk or what Netrunner meant to them. I do agree it's a very evocative word, and it does help when teaching that mechanic. It's very clear that brain damage is like the kind of the scary one, but of course there was a lot of people that were alienated and uncomfortable about this, and a big part of this game, a big part of this channel is making sure as many people as possible can come in and enjoy this content. So I know I've said many times on this stream, hey, brain damage doesn't matter, like it's some sort of, obviously in context of Netrunner, maybe that already sucked ass, so apologies about that. I'm really excited for the term into a way that it could be used mechanically across more things. So now the permanent damage from NBN could look something more interesting. Like a character assassination is a real thing with a lasting impact as opposed to just trash one resource or one connection. I think it's really cool. The term itself, core and core damage, I don't think is anywhere near as evocative, and it's obvious for people to understand what it means. I think that might be a bit of like a miss to me, maybe, but I think it's a really hard thing to nail a word for that. I know there's discussions on the whole subreddits talking about like, oh, but what about the word permanent damage or critical damage or just the word trauma? And I understand a lot of those were considered but had to be discarded for certain reasons when it comes to like templating or translation or what have it. Vincent says, I think this change may take some getting used to, but ultimately won't hinder my enjoyment for the game. That's my take after thinking about it. Yeah, for what it's worth, this is a change that we knew. People generally who got content spoilers or for the upcoming set were told about this a bit sooner. So this is something that I knew was happening for about a week before. I think I was like a bit more like about it when I first heard about it. But then, you know, weeks later, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It can open up the design space, which is fantastic. And if more people are comfortable with it, so be it. I think the one thing that is particularly awkward is that right now, there is a huge influx of Netrunner players coming to the community, and Nisei does not have versions of the existing cards that they just sold maybe to newer players like 2 weeks ago that have these changed terms on it. So they're basically saying like, these are terms that we find a bit disrespectful or like not perfectly appropriate, but we don't have a solution for you, and sorry, we sold you the cards a week ago. That to me is a bit awkward. It's good, obviously, going forward they're doing it, and eventually those cards will rotate out. There's actually very few cards with that term on it in the standard card pool regardless, so it gets a bit easier. So it's a bit of a mixed bag for sure on that front. I wish that, I don't know how you deal with that though. Like that's really difficult, but it is what it is. When I first heard that brain damage was being replaced, why would they do that after reading the article? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think, how's it going, Boot? I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot that can be done with this. It's quite exciting. I have no doubt even like people within Nisei, some people don't agree with this. Some people do agree with this change. I think of it like, you're going to see more interesting cards going forward. I did see some interesting comments on Reddit, people talking that have or live with like traumatic brain injuries. Some people actually are upset about the change. They think brain damage is like, it was a part of representation in the game that they kind of glommed onto, or the idea that like calling brain damage core damage, somebody who has a brain injury has injured their core, found that to be disrespectful to some extent. So it's definitely a very interesting conversation. We'll see going forward what they do with it. We do have a runner that heavily deals with core damage, so we're going to see a couple more cards of that as well. Andre, pocket of big core damage. Hate to see it. Eric, I don't know what that means. But I was really excited to see your new art. I saw that on what's it called, on Discord. I think it's fantastic. It's a complicated change to be sure, and I have some sympathies with those resisting the change, but I think at the end, I'm happy to see the term change, especially mechanics-wise. Mechanics-wise, it seems really cool. But like net damage intrinsically, it's pretty meaningless without context from the game. It sounds like something a fish would do to escape. Yeah, Derek, I think net damage means like through the network, like network damage versus reduced to net damage. And I think if you think of like that, it makes more sense. I think the net damage on its own is a bit like abstract, but network damage, I think we can understand pretty quickly. I think the only downside is having to explain to new players two things are essentially the same. Yeah, it's going to be ugly for a bit to be like, oh, that says brain damage, it is core damage, it's the same. But yeah, this game is already pretty complicated. I don't think that's going to be the nail in the proverbial learning curve. But yeah, I hear you. Just let me catch up real quick. Thanks all. Played Built the last one with a kill. Then lost to Ken. Lost as Ken to GameNet. Both super close and fun though. That's really cool. I take it you're playing Startup. Startup's fantastic. Okay. I used change 3 times in a sentence. I should resign. It's complicated change. Mechanics wise, the term's changed. While I do think cards and grip as connections is an interesting concept, I'm still not sold on it, to be honest. I don't think brain damage will disappear from the world of Netrunner as a thing characters can experience, but using it as a mechanical term was getting pretty weird. Yeah, I think that's an interesting way of talking about it. It is weird. I don't see this ending with brain damage pretty soft to change this. I'm not sure I understand. I mean, net meat are already mechanically almost the same. Yeah, they're just flavorfully. It's just flavor. Mechanically, no, they're obviously quite the same. I'm definitely going to accidentally call it brain damage until I can rewire my mental shortcuts. I have no doubt it's going to happen. I know as the caster specifically, like I need to say the right term as much as possible. And Nisei talked about it. Like they know people are going to mess it up as long as you're not doing it with ill intent. It's not going to be an issue. So that happens. You know, sometimes that happens. Somebody misspeaks, obviously for so many other reasons. And yeah, you just kind of got to apologize, maybe move on. The same structure change comes right after the new core set. Exactly, I know that it didn't hit before it, but the themes, the breaks for a living card game. Yeah, the timing's really weird too, because they just released like Midnight Sun. Clearly this change happened between the Midnight Side booster pack and Midnight Sun. So it's like a very recent change. At least that's what it looks like. Because like already there's 2 copies of Light the Fire out. One that says brain damage and one that says core damage. So clearly this is something that happened recently, and that makes it very hard, right? Like yeah, going forward, it'll be better for sure. Okay, more spoilers. Anarch stuff. So the way that it worked for the first 3 days is that Nisei put out basically a story as written. This is written by Swery Princess that kind of introduces you to the new runner identities. I've read all these. They're pretty great. Oh, just because it got added 2 days later, but OP had clarified only harassing people by intentionally repeatedly using the term to upset people would have repercussions, and tokens with the brain damage will be legal. Yeah, I've heard people, like, there was discussion about that on Reddit. People be like, oh, is it okay to do this? Is it not okay to do this? Either asking questions with good intentions or maybe trying to, like, figure it out. But yeah, I know they clarified it. I don't think, like, you really have to try to be an asshole, I think, to, like, suffer any sort of repercussions. So just don't do that. There's so many easy ways to not do that, let me tell you. I hate it when I get a nail on my proverbial curve. Hey, Zach, love your content. Thanks for filling this niche. I love Android and Doomtown. I suck at both, but watching your stuff makes me feel smarter. Zach, me too. It's my platform. I'm glad you're liking it. Thanks so much for the kind words. I thought net damage was like net weight at the beginning. I don't know what net weight means. What do you mean, Loot? The power of offense is devastating? I don't know what that means. I'm probably not going to engage with that. That doesn't seem like a good faith discussion. But we have a new runner. Click to reveal. Issa Afontov, the eco-insurrectionist. This is our first Anarch. This is actually card 1. People are having a lot of time tracking or spending a lot of time tracking the card numbers to see like how many cards are in each faction. It's almost all plotted out, which is actually quite interesting. So the idea here is Asa is gender fluid, I believe. So the pronouns used are Z and Zer. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? It's pronounced or spelled X-I and X-I-R. So Asa uses the core damage mechanic inherently. We've never seen a runner that interacts directly with a sort of mechanic in the game, classically known as brain damage. And the text box says the first time each turn you suffer core damage, you may draw 1 card and sabotage 2. And then all the subtypes, or sorry, all the mechanics in the set generally have parenthetical text right after it, which I'm a huge fan of, that describes the thing. So sabotage says the corp trashes 2 cards of their choice from HQ and or the top of R&D. Card number tracking is old school cool. It really is. Okay, so a couple things here. Firstly, the term sabotage, that is more explained in this article, which June wrote up, talking about the new mechanic sabotage and explaining why they did this and why they want to pursue this. In short, if a card says sabotage, you basically have to trash that many cards. The corp has to trash that many cards, but they get this to decide where those cards come from. So if it says sabotage 2, that means the corp has to, at the end of that paid ability, have 2 cards into their discard pile, and they can come from HQ or R&D. But the thing that isn't, I don't think, clearly written on this card text is the order that you have to decide to do those cards. You have to decide which cards you're trashing before looking at any of them. So say you have sabotage 4, that means you can trash 3 cards from R&D, 1 from HQ, but you have to decide which card you're trashing before looking at any of them. It's not one at a time. You can't trash the top card of R&D, then look at it and be like, oh, that's okay, I'm going to keep going from R&D. So you basically, I think you generally do HQ first. So you could throw 2 cards face down from HQ. They're face down. The runner's not going to see them until they run archives. And then committing to 2 off of R&D for doing sabotage 4, because that's 2 plus 2. So do watch out that you get that right. If you had sabotage 1 and you look at the top card of R&D before you're finishing your sabotage, I think in terms of rules, you're now committing to sabotage entirely off of R&D. And I think people are going to be caught up by that rule, unfortunately, where there's no way to fix that. If you look at a card off of R&D that you're sabotaging, you have to sabotage the rest of R&D. Sabotage feels like something that always should have been there. Ditto for charge. Mark, not so much. Ooh, I'm excited to talk about Mark. I think sabotage is like fascinating. I think it's super fascinating. So there's 2 things here with Asa. Firstly, their ability, getting to draw a card when you take damage makes all of these damage cards a bit more tempo positive. I think that's such a huge deal. So many of these cards are inherently tempo negative, where you take a brain damage, it's a real cost, but now you can actually do that and kind of go at the same time. Give me 1 second. We can show these cards. So the idea is like the card that we just looked at, I don't think would be anything special if you asked me like maybe a bit ago, but now modernly with running hot, this is kind of bonkers. The idea is that you can play this, suffer a core damage, replace the card, and just have 2 extra clicks. You're no longer down a card, which means you're going to see turns where people play 3 copies of running hot, they sabotage 6 and have a massive turn. It's absolutely fantastic. And so many of these cards that particularly classically had core damage or brain damage on it now are a lot more playable. An interesting thing on top of this when it comes to sabotage is better the more of it you do at once. It's If you just triggered Sabotage 1 every other turn, like you did a slow drip of Sabotage, I would argue that's not incredibly impactful. In a lot of ways, that actually works out to be almost identical to Alice, right? So, hold on. I think my camera's going to move every time. Oh, okay, that's pretty bad. I can fix this. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to do this. Then I have to copy. Give me 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Copy this. And then I have to go back here and then paste this. Okay, now we're in the green. So the idea is it kind of feels like Alice, where a lot of times it's once per turn you can throw out your worst card. And while that's still annoying, Sabotage really gets to maximum power when you're sabotaging a lot in a single turn. So if you manage to take on core damage with Asa and then play Chastushka, another new revealed card, after an HQ run, instead of accessing you Sabotage 4, that starts to get really awkward. Because it's one thing to tell a corp, throw out the worst card from HQ, or if there's no bad card, throw at the top of R&D. But it's another thing to say throw out the 5 worst cards. That's when you start hitting this critical damage where it gets really, really awkward and you start to make really, really rough decisions. On top of that, it's discussed in the article, and I agree with this, that there's like a lot of like kind of area for mind games that's sort of like Yomi play, where for instance, if I start trashing cards from HQ or from the top of R&D, let's say, that might signal to the runner, oh, HQ is really good, so you might want to run HQ. Or oppositely, you could trash from HQ to be like, oh, there's nothing in here, and then they think, okay, maybe HQ is not worth running. I think that's pretty interesting. And I think you're going to end up into weird situations where how quickly you react to a sabotage trigger is kind of going to give away a bit about how your board state looks. Like if someone says sabotage 4 and you say, oh, no big deal, and you just rip 4 from hand, or you rip 4 from the top of the deck, that tells something, as opposed to if you sit there and think about it for a while, where then it seems to be a bit of a struggle. I think that's a bit fascinating, and I want to see how that plays out for sure. I like this mechanic a lot, and we saw a bunch more sabotage cards. For what it's worth, I'm not going to directly show any of the other cards that have been spoiled by other people during like community spoiler season. We'll show you a list where you can find all the other stuff to click on them, but and most of the stuff we're going to talk about today is Nisei stuff, and then we will maybe mention if you want to directly talk about a card, but I don't think I'll be showing a lot of it. Time for some counter surveillance ESA. I think there's a lot of flexible ways to play ESA too, which I think is really fascinating. The console is so important. It really is. This is a console that was revealed. It's called Marrow, and it is metal as all hell. It's only 2 to install, which is fantastic. It also cycles a card because you do suffer core damage in ESA. It gives you +3 maximum hand size and an MU, which practically is +2 maximum hand size. Maximum hand size is obviously quite important if you're going to take in a lot of core damage. It means that you're going to have some amount of hand. And it says whenever the corp scores an agenda, sabotage 1. I think everyone's going to forget about that text. That text is obviously fine, and it might trigger once or twice in a game. It doesn't matter on the last agenda score if you lose, but yeah, that's fine, I guess. I think the fact that this console is easily playable and does give you a sabotage trigger and give you more hand size, that's probably the reason why you want to consider it. But I do still think ESA doesn't have to play this console. I'm not sure who else would want to play this console, but this is definitely quite nice if you want to take on a lot of like damage doing the core damage thing. I missed the first hour. It's cool that you have floating windows for cards. Yeah, we set all this up. We're getting ready because we're doing an in-person stream on what's it called? On the 23rd. So we want to show as much as we can. Not a scrub who steals all the content he can. It's saying what you're doing is really cool. That it brings it all together. Yeah, we'll talk about it next week, I think. Does it work with searches? Skip on. The card thing? No, not unless I have the card on my hard drive. It doesn't. But if I have the card on my hard drive, yes, I can search. Is it good as a 3-of for ESA so you can overwrite it as a source of damage? I don't know. And actually, so that's an interesting thing, right? So now with consoles, you can overwrite them. So the idea is that you can play a second Marrow, replacing your first Marrow, and then take another brain damage. I do think there's going to be some awkwardness because I think for the second that you replace your console with the new console, I don't know if there's like a fraction of a minute where you don't have the console installed. So you might actually flatline yourself. Oh, actually, you don't flatline yourself from having negative hand size. No, that actually is not true because you only flatline yourself if you have negative hand size at the end of your turn. So you could do it. I don't know if you want to. I feel like there's actually like surprisingly not that many core damage cards in rotation right now. Like cards that you can give yourself core damage. There's not that many, but I don't think you want to take on like 5 core damage in a game. I think that might be too much unless you're like really trying to win on the last turn where like you don't have to survive. You have to win. Maybe then you'd consider it. Wayland running a lot of 2-1s would be sad about last line, I guess. Yeah, it hurts things like PE shell game that's all running 1-3s. There are some reasons that it is annoying. But in a lot of matchups, like the one we played today, it's fine, I guess. If as a corp you chose to sabotage top of R&D, can you look at it after you've decided? Yes, you can look after it after. You can look at your sabotage because you can always look at archives, right? So after you're done sabotaging, go ahead and look. And this is a really big thing that a lot of people forget. You are allowed to shuffle face down cards in archives. So it's actually in your best interest to shuffle your sabotaged cards with the cards you've discarded so your opponent gets no information about what cards came out of your deck at what point. So do shuffle your face down cards before you hand them over to your opponent. So watch out. I mean, you also want this console sooner in the game anyways. It's a 3-of for me, and in a pinch, you can overinstall the Force of Sabotage before a run. Yeah, you could. You could. I don't know if I'm excited as a 3-of, maybe a 2-of. The fact that it replaces itself is quite nice, and it is pretty cheap. We'll see. You can take 7 core before you flatline with Marrow? Yeah, you can. You can take 7. You can take a fair bit. Bad spoilers, I guess. It's okay if I stapled onto a 2-credit console with other good things. I think this is good. It's going to be a role player card. I don't know if it's flashy. I don't know if it's enough to see play out of faction or out of like ASA specifically, but it's quite good. If you wanted a brain cage, this is straight up a better brain cage. I would say yes and no. Brain cage was good because it wasn't a console slot. Like if you could play ESA and play brain cage and then play like Keiko or something else, you'd probably consider it. Which is, you know, it is what it is. You must fulfill the sabotage trash if possible. Yeah, you have to do all of it. Are we keeping brain cage? No, I don't think so. I think brain cage rotates, right? Yeah, this rotated a long time ago. Brain cage isn't in the standard format. It hasn't been for a year. Yeah. It costs 1 more than brain cage and isn't a console? Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Well, it costs 1 more, but this not being a console is a really, really big deal. In terms of some other Anarch spoilers, we've seen some really cool stuff. Again, if you want to see everything, if you go to our Reddit /Netrunner, who put this together, mind you? Chaos of 99 put this together. It's a nice list. It has links to everything again. A lot of these cards are being revealed by the community. So it's like, you know, Instagram accounts, podcasts, stuff like that, YouTube channels, Twitch channels. So go check them out if you can. We'll not be showing too much of this until next week, just so that has a bit of time to breathe. Okay, sabotage I think is very fascinating. There's also specifically a card that basically makes you into a weaker version of noise, a once per turn if you install a virus sabotage. I think that's so exciting. And I think I am very excited to play sabotage, and I think sabotage has a way higher skill ceiling than it might look. I think it's very easy for someone to just be like, oh, chest this guy has 4 on it, let's go. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. I do think you want to like to basically sequence your turns and sequence your triggers. I'm also so absolutely stoked to see somebody play 3 copies of Running Hot in the same turn to see how that goes. Also, if there's anyone from Nisei, are you allowed legally to play Amped Up as a proxy for Running Hot? Can you do that? Or is that not allowed because it has a different name? Because I technically used to play proxies of like original Netrunner cards, ONR cards that had the exact same text and name. I guess they had the same name usually, not always, as existing cards. I feel like it's less of a problem for a runner because you don't have to, like, no one has to access your deck and see cards. I don't know. Running Hot trashes a random card from hand and only draws once with ESA? Yeah, you're right. It's the first time each turn. You're right. It's harder to play all 3, but it's going to happen. If you paste the name, it's legal? Is that all it takes? Wild. Anarch looks really cool. I'm really excited to play Anarch. We didn't even talk about the flavor. ESA so far has shown up in, I think, in 2 of the stories the narrative teams from Nisei has put out, and they're pretty exciting to see what ESA's up to. I also don't know if Nisei has confirmed the sort of nationality of ESA and the sort of stuff that Zur is wearing, because these sort of like markings, a lot of people think, I forget the names, but there's a lot of these like ethnicities throughout like Siberia and northeastern Russia. And make sure your opponent knows before the game. Maybe ask the TO. Yeah. I want to know if that's possible. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Yeah, this is the same text. It's exactly the same. Okay, Criminal is next. And this is the one that I'm really interested to hear what you all think, because this one I think is the most divisive when it comes to a mechanic. Firstly, Threads of Blue came out. This is a nice long story about a new runner called Sable. It's Nyusha Sable Sintachta, right? And it basically says at the beginning of your turn, identify your mark. That is the new keyword. And the first time each turn you make a successful run on your mark, you gain a click. And gaining a click is something that hasn't really showed up on criminal cards. I think there's only 1 other criminal card in which you can gain a click. Oh, 2, Swift, and then like Auto Scripter, I guess. And that's potentially quite powerful. Mind you, Deep Dive is like kind of a big closer in this format coming up. So that's quite powerful. But the idea is, if you're confused at how this works, when you have to identify your mark, you have to, at the start of your turn, randomly determine one of the central servers. Nisei will be providing 3 of these cards, HQ R&D archives, and you can randomize. At the beginning of your turn, you or your opponent picks one. That will be your mark for the turn. It doesn't look like we've seen any cards so far that will move your mark or remark. It is just what it is. I'll give you some slight spoilers. 2 of the cards I have that will be spoiled on this channel on Monday have the mark mechanic on it. The 3rd one doesn't. So we're going to see a bit more mark cards than we've seen so far. So far, we've only seen Sable. We've seen her console, which is down here, Virtuoso, and we've seen nothing else that says mark. When I first heard mark, I didn't like it. I really did not care about it. Because the idea of attaching so much like in your face variance to every single turn in Netrunner, a game that already has all this variance that we kind of like to ignore that's there, I really didn't care about it. The idea that like, oh, maybe your opponent just absolutely like luck sacks like amazing marks for a couple turns in a row, or you get terrible marks when you're playing a Sable, like that felt really bad to me. The more that I thought about it, the more interesting it's getting. The idea that like you have to kind of manipulate variance and then take like a bad hand and make it to a good hand, I'm really excited about. It's something that I'm like really stoked to hit a table to see how it actually like works out. Boot Recognition says her console, the Decklist installed is, I don't know if I like this console. This console's like, I think the Decklist part is fine. I think the best part is the Breach HQ part. Marcus, seriously, love it or hate it? Yeah, I think it's really divisive. I think it's something that I would be so excited to play on casual tables, but if it's something that becomes like ultra competitive and you start to see like tournaments that are like, or games that high tournaments that are like defined by where the mark lands, I'll get probably a bit salty. Marcus Fun Sable looks good. The console and program look eh. I love the programs. The program is like my favorite card. It really is my favorite card. Sabotage cool, charge cool, mark misses the mark. Hey yo. I love Mark. I'm interested to hear what everyone thinks. Mark sounds like a ton of fun, says Dave. Mark introduces more RNG in a game that does not need more of it. This is the one mechanic that is like the most in-your-face RNG. It's worth knowing original Netrunner had some wild cards, like an upgrade that says roll a d6 on a 6 end the run, right? Like that was inherent to the old version of the game. And that was a big thing that back in the day, Lucas Litzinger wanted to iron out of this game. And while we have had side games, which some people can say is just straight luck, some people say is, ooh, Yomi, you know, some people feel strongly about that too. Not too hot on market at first glance. I'm sure the average power level will be fine, but individual games might feel disproportionately affected by randomness. That's what I'm holding my breath about. I think that's exactly it. The new criminal keyword is trash garbage. Daniel, can you explain yourself? I think mark is one of those things where you have to accept you won't fire it every turn. I know, and I think Orbital, a lot of people are gonna like bend over backwards to run their mark in the most suboptimal ways, which is one of the things that I've so far really liked about mark and what's it called, sabotage, is that they open up the field for opponents to play terribly. Right? Like I think you can sabotage very poorly and very like, and not at the right time, and you can run your mark at the worst time possible. Like spend 6 credits to clicklessly run R&D when you shouldn't, or HQ when you shouldn't. Like, have fun. With Decklist Run Archives, get 2 off sec testing, access 2 in HQ, DOF, and then access 2 from HQ. Yeah, something like that. I don't think it's always going to work out. Would you play this over Paragon or Penny in Standard? So Virtuoso, what it does, gives you +1 MU. It's very expensive at 4 credits for a criminal console, and it says the first time each turn you make a successful run on your mark. If it's HQ, access an additional card. If it's not HQ, once that run is finished, you can breach HQ. Very interaction here that it doubles charges Turtle. Yes, this double charges Amakua because there's 2 separate breaches, so Amakua will get 2 tokens, which is pretty powerful. Now, the one thing I like about Virtuoso and a lot of the other Mark cards is that they smooth out the sort of randomness of Mark. Maybe in some ways you can say it accentuates it, but the idea is that if you want to run HQ and now your Mark is on Archives, that Archives run is a heck of a lot better. I like that a lot. In fact, I feel like a lot of times the worst version of Virtuoso is when the Mark is HQ. Because multi-accessing HQ is not something you want to do all the time. It really isn't. There are certain times where like a legwork on HQ makes sense. There's certain times where you know there's no agendas in HQ. And if this lands on HQ and your console is giving you no benefit besides, ooh, +1 MU, like that feels really rough. Compared to like potentially running a Swift in like in Sable and then having like a 6-click turn to like double deep dive or whatever you want to do. Like there are other options for consoles, but I think the cool thing about Virtuoso is that it makes the archives and R&D marks so much stronger, and it puts a lot of pressure on those servers, which probably aren't going to be protected as well as HQ generally is with criminal. So that's what I think. I'm very interested because I don't know how Mark is going to play out. Whereas something like Charge has a lot of built-in synergy with older cards in the pool. Charge does have a lot of synergy built in. Mark is going to be a bit more self-contained. And I don't know whether it's just going to be Mark decks or non-Mark decks, whether there's going to be decks that like dabble in Mark, because there's some really awkwardness. Like this card says when your turn begins, identify your Mark. So if you slap it down mid-turn in a deck that's not Sable, it's useless. Like it literally does nothing till next turn, which is not like the end of the world, but it's not good. So that is like a really interesting thing to see if this card sees any play outside of Sable. You just lose one turn. It's not the biggest deal. Console's a handheld vacuum and a violin bow. No, it's just that's a violin. They make violins like this. This is not too like out there of a design. There's a lot of modern violins that are like that. It's just the strings and then like the outside of it. When I first saw the spoiler, I was so stoked that this was a violin case. Inside of it was going to be a gun, like the old sort of like gangster style. Like it's a, you know, a violin box or a guitar box with a Tommy gun in it, because we did see the revolver and I was convinced we're going to see more like guns and more like criminal stuff. It is just a violin that has been modified, and the story talks about it with this sort of like ability with her pan cybernetics to be able to like target and attack people and steal and skim money, which is really, really quite cool. I like the story a heck of a lot. Caldera can prevent running hot damage. Couldn't before with Amped Up. Skip on, it can't because, and I only learned this today, I'm not that smart, because it is a cost to play the running hot, so you can't prevent it. Nothing like 4-4 agendas. Wait, what? People are even divided whether the console's good? I think, yeah. I think people are going to be so divided on Mark for a long time. It's a cool concept, but if it'll upset if my marks aren't easy. Ooh, I'm hilarious. Hey, don't worry. I didn't make that joke during my spoilers. Don't worry, I didn't know it was random. That's interesting. Thematically funny since criminals are supposed to be systematic and skilled and not random. Well, that's the thing. It's like they say specifically criminals are meant to be opportunistic. They get a mark and then they run it. It's a job or a tip. That's actually called out in the article. I think the opposite of it is systematic. They're just opportunists. They see like, oh, cool, I can security testing this. Let's go. I'm not a huge fan of high variance coin flip Netrunner, but Mark doesn't feel like that. I'm so stoked to see what this is. Oh, I'm way behind on chat. Excuse me. I'm way behind on chat. Hey, Seabass. Someone who played Legolas Leela for like a straight year, 4 credits is fine for a console. Yeah. Pat, that deck didn't have to run though. Oh no. Yeah, maybe not. Sable deep dive seems fun. I'm terrified Sable is going to deep dive you on turn 1. People think I'm not correct in the head, but I completely misunderstood the point when you made it yesterday, but I agree with you. About what exactly, Rob? I think criminal can make any kind of mark work though. I think it reduces the choice of which server to run for the criminal. Making runs random can make things awkward for the corp. I think at low mark investment is just incidental value on central runs. Yes. And boring. Gaining clicks and accessing is all originally good, but it doesn't feel criminal or original. Is more run and random things give X extra value. So a thing that Nisei like was very clear about, if you're watching with System Gateway, the original criminal core set was Gabriel Santiago. He said run HQ gain 2 credits. And Nisei specifically said when they made the new criminal core set with Zaya, they wanted to make criminals not about HQ pressure, but about central pressure in general. And you really see the design here. They're nailing it. You now have pressure on all 3 central servers. Corporations are going to have to ice up everything. They have to. It's wild. People are saying I see it now, and I don't know why. Because I was a bit behind. Oh, for the violin. Yes. Are there going to be cards that potentially set a mark when you play them? Yes. If there's a card I'll spoil on Monday that if you don't have a mark, gets a mark when it's played. But I also have a card that doesn't, if you don't have a mark, next turn gets a mark. So yes and no. I do think the card that I have that if it doesn't have a mark and you play it is pretty unplayable because you have no idea how it's going to work out. I think you'd have to wait. Sable kind of feels like a shaper, but the click mechanic feels like a shaper. But I do think the opportunistic going to make profit is a good thing. Hi, first time catching the stream. Love your content, Jason. That's very kind. Thank you. Welcome to the stream. Glad you can make it. Okay, I think I'm caught up. I think Mark is good for the pressure. Having to ice all centrals is real. You generally had to do that anyways with Modern Criminal because of things like Amakua. Like you had to ice up all centrals, Turning Wheel classically. Obviously, that's going to be a bit different in the future. Can we get a mark? Get a mark for a mark for a mark. Is there going to be a new ET mark that lets you choose your mark? Ha. One thing I did want to point out. What is this? So these cards are going to come in the set. I think I'm going to largely be rolling a D6 because it's faster. But the art on R&D is Monogram Skunkworks. The art on Archives, is that the Wayland, the HB upgrade that no one plays? One of them? And then what is it? What is HQ? Do we know what these cards are? Yeah, I do like the central sigils. I think these are nice. because we don't have like iconography for this sort of stuff. This is like good iconography. Like this helps for like people making stuff. Yeah, that's Cold Sight, right? But do we know what this one on the left is? I don't know what that one is. Okay, the last card. One of the HP upgrades no one plays is not nearly specific enough. That's true. I should have known better. You're right. You're right. It's Netscape. I know it's not an upgrade. HQ is clearly a toaster. HQ looks like it's a city. It's a cityscape of some sort. It kind of looks like Salsa Slums, but it's definitely not Salsa Slums. It has to be Nisei art. Like Ricetta, it looks like a generic server tower. I think you're right, but like this has to be from like this was a commissioned art. This has to be on something. I don't know what this is. I'll roll a d6, put the respective card on the table as a reminder. Yeah, or I'll just put the dice as a reminder. But yeah, the card is probably, it's going to make more sense on camera. HQ forms an H with a negative space. That's cool. That is cool. I like that. I didn't notice that. And then there's a arrow in the FedEx logo. Chesva. Straight up, one of my favorite cards in the set so far that I've seen. Love it. I grew up. So growing up, this is the sort of coffee my mom would make. She was the coffee master growing up, and it was always like a Chesva full of Turkish style coffee. Since I remember, that's what coffee was. The large grinder that made so much noise, you hated it, and then Turkish coffee. They go through a couple of them a day. Fantastic. I have my own Chesva in the other room. I've been making Turkish coffee. Fantastic. This reminds me of my family. Huge props. For a card, it's 2 credits, and it gives you 2 credits a turn. People see this, people say, it could be Rizeki, and you're not wrong. Could be Rizeki. Rizeki is great. It is money that you can use for anything. It is real money. Well, this is only money for running central servers. And obviously, if you're a Mark deck, you're going to run central servers. Now, I think comparing this to, if you want to compare this directly to what's it called, to the Green Orb, to Rizeki, this pays out so much faster. Like the fact that you can put this down on the table and get the 2 credits off of it in the same turn is such a big deal. Because if you're just counting like how many clicks or how many credits you get for your click refund, right? Like you're up 2 credits on turn 2. On turn 3, you're up 4 credits, right? You're up 6 credits. Well, it takes Rizeki how many turns to get to 6 credits? A heck of a lot. Now, of course, this means that you have to be running centrals all the time, like every single turn to get the value from it. And I think with a Mark deck, that's the closest it's ever going to be. So I think this is actually quite playable. As long as you're aggressive criminal and you can get more money off of other things. And tune in for Monday to find out more about that. I'm a huge fan of this. I think this is absolutely fantastic. I would play this over, I'm pretty sure, as long as we're running central servers, over anything else. Absolutely fantastic. It's also very flexible. You have to use it during runs on central servers, so a shaper could use it for SMC, whatever. You can use this for prognostic Q loop, which is really sick. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if you put it in the as list. I don't think you need to, but that list actually does change pretty considerably after rotation. There's a lot of interesting uses. You can use this to trash cards, you access from central servers. You can use this to pay for Bologna, pay for traces if that's still a thing. But you would have to install a breaker that does something to get 2 credits. Yeah, I'm assuming that you have a way to spend money, right? Like I'm assuming you have a breaker down, something like that, right? Like I don't think it's a thing you install first like you would on Rizeki, but once you get it down, that is easily 2 credits a turn. Q loop it out mid run, you can still use it right away. Yeah, that's really cute. That's really cute. I don't know. I love this card, and I think half of it's the theme, and the other half is like that is a lot of money. And this is very comparable to the old Pheromones, but Pheromones was not good. It saw like niche play in like I never also know how to spell it. In Pheromones. Yeah, Steve wants to run HQ all the time. Pheromones is like the direct comparison, but Pheromones is like a dead card the turn you install it. It takes a while. They can purge it. It was a bit of a mess. It did see play in like very one-dimensional Gabe decks and like a really cool Professor deck back from the day. You can also use it with like, there's some other weird stuff. Like you can use it with Paolo's Cafe, which is thematically perfect. I don't know. In standard, I think you get boom. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But I think if you're like doofing like consistently and keeping pressure on, like if you're keeping actual pressure on, you're not just be like, ooh, Axis is free. Like I think you can do something with it. I really like this card. This feels dead until Flashpoint rotates. Is that because everyone hard-hitting news? Cafe Tribal. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how good hard-hitting news is going to be. Like the whole landscape of what tags look like is clearly changing. So anyways, I'm stoked for this. Mark, it was a weird thing. It was a long sell to me. Now I'm on board. Do you run 3? No, definitely not. Heavens no. It's not that good. Hey, Adam Doyle art, huh? That's cool to see back in Netrunner. That's super cool. Okay, I feel like we're missing something. Yes, standard ban list update. We've had change to the ban list. Firstly, couple things banned, a couple things unbanned. Let's go from what we expected to what we least expected in the order. I hope you chime in whenever you want. Expected: Kakugo banned, Shipment from Tenon banned, Jinteki Personal Evolution unbanned. This was kind of really expected. Nisei was very clear that these cards got unbanned specifically for Worlds. They said the only way that we can allow people to play Kakugo and Shipment from Tenon is if we ban Personal Evolution. So you can't build a grinder deck. Let me tell you, I recently played a grinder deck at a store championship, had a fantastic time. I imagine my opponents didn't and went undefeated. Recently, I think Sokka just took to OTG a grinder deck and came in first. It's a very powerful thing. It's not fun to play against. Luckily, no one played it at Worlds, really, and now it's gone. And Nisei said that Personal Evolution was integral to what Jinteki looks like in Midnight Sun. We've seen very few Jinteki spoilers so far. I think we've only seen one, if you look really hard. So it looks like we're going to see something net damage based. So they basically undone what they did before, and I think is largely for the better. That's how I feel about Grinder. Happy? Kat, I know you've liked Grinder for a while. Do you have a full set of Netrunner cards? Do I? Yes. I don't think free accesses and Central's cuts in Modern Standard, to be honest, but we'll see. I don't think it's free accesses. I think that's exactly it. It's not free accesses. But if you have other ways to get benefit, maybe. Free accesses, you're right. That's not enough. Maybe the Shaper can play it too. Andre, you played Grinder? Oh, yeah. Anarco, I have a question for you. Hold on. I brought this up with Pat. I did not have that Andre heel turn on my bingo card. Okay, for what it was worth, it was a big heel turn. I was slightly embarrassed, but it was the night before, and I didn't think I was going to play in the tournament, and I was like, you have to play in the tournament now, so I did something. I feel like I'm roasting you, Anarco. I'm not. You wrote the piece that takes place, the digging piece, right? Sorry, I read it today. I don't have the title memorized. But you talk about a character who is drinking a drink out of a copper mug with something that's meant to taste like ginger beer and vodka, right? This is a Moscow Mule, which is a reference to where they are. But from my research, because I had to do some research recently, a vodka buck or Moscow Mule isn't exactly from Russia. It's something that actually came back, or I don't even know if it came back. That's the question mark, is how big of a decision was this of what that person was drinking? I think it's fascinating. Andre equals the Butcher. That's the Butcher one. Correct. That's what it was called, the Butcher. An epic story. I really like that one. I really liked it. I think the ending was fantastic. Have you already reviewed Shaper? No, we're getting in order. So the MWL happened first, and then it's the Shaper. We're almost there. Is the next thing. The Butcher. Thank you. Yes, I'm embarrassed. I forgot it. What's the difference between Grinder and Glacier? It's very different. So Glacier decks are decks that want to score out agendas and get a win condition behind a lot of ice. Like imagine a lot of ice stacking on top of each other. That's why they call it Glacier. It's generally slow, has defensive upgrades. Grinder is a type of Netrunner deck that generally doesn't want to do anything but make the opponent run out of cards. And largely their win condition is that the opponent runs out of cards so they can score out an Obokata protocol on the table. They're the decks that just run every single net damage card. You'll find the deck list on the front. You can see Sokka's. I didn't publish mine. But it's a deck that has like no interest in doing everything. A lot of the turns, they will install an ice, click for 2 credits, install an ice, click for 3 credits. And they run so many damage cards in their deck that it just becomes very difficult to win. Because every time you run, you take damage from Kakugo, you take damage from Hokusai Grid, you take damage from Prisek, and then you can't steal Obokata, you hit a snare. And basically by like turn 10, you realize you only have 5 cards left, and then how are you ever going to win? That's the idea. I did a bit of looking into the origin of the Moscow Mule when writing the piece. It's fantastic. We've had a huge saga with these mugs. I tried to get Maddie Moscow Mule mugs for her birthday just like last month, and like the ones we were getting kept leaking from the handles, and I had to keep returning them. This is water, but we've been on a Moscow Mule journey. Yeah, Grinder is extreme NPE. Now, a lot of people incorrectly, if you ask me, call like Jinteki shell game decks Grinder decks, where they're like, install advance. Is it an agenda? Ooh, is it a cerebral overwriter? That is not Grinder. That is just a Cambridge style trap deck that is trying to make big plays. Grinder deck wants to get you to have no cards in your deck. You win because they have nothing and they have to forfeit because they can't run. That's it. I want a mule now and a charcuterie plate. Mules are pretty good. It's good in the summer. Unlined copper is dangerous with lime. Yes, unlined copper is dangerous. Anything acidic in copper is actually quite poisonous. So make sure if you're getting Moscow Mule mugs, the inside is like stainless steel and not actually copper. It will honestly be very bad for you if you drink out of copper with something acidic. Yes, do watch out. Okay, those are the changes everyone expected. Now, the changes that less people expected. Firstly, high profile target has now been banned. They talk about this, right? This card is the big meat damage card. Nice, good for you. I heard leaking, got worried for you. It was bad. I had to go replace him twice. The idea is that this card is like the biggest meat damage card in the whole game. You can do like massive amounts of damage for this. This card almost single-handedly destroyed the tag me archetype because there's very little ways to take a lot of tags in this game and not die to this. And the tag me archetype was something that was usually, well, at some point was like, Liza talking? Yeah. That was like a thing for a while, and then HPT came out. Technically it came out before, right? Anyways, this archetype, I guess Mars for Martians and that sort of stuff was like a bit better of an explanation of how Tag Me went to some extent. Basically, HPT has now been banned. I think the article says specifically this is to do with some of the cards that we're going to see later on in the set, some of the Wayland spoilers. We haven't seen that many Wayland cards. So we're going to see some other way that Wayland interacts with tags. But basically, this card says multiple tags is the end of you. It's just death. And we've been seeing this a lot more with Nisei, and specifically if you play Startup or even System Gateway, the value of a single tag. Classically in Netrunner, a single tag was just the end of you. If you took a single tag back like 5 years ago, like you just died to scorched earth. Which means the whole like play space of the game, considering how many tags you have, when you have the tags, can you flow 3 tags on this turn, 1 tag next turn? Like none of that matters because it was just like, oh, tag equals death. And that obviously has a huge limitation on what cards they can print that interact with tags or deal out tags. So I think we're going to see something that either deals a lot of tags or does meat damage in a different, more interesting way. So in the meantime, high profile target has been banned. Now, of course, you still have access to Boom, and Boom is, you can play around it a bit more. Marrow gives you 7 cards in hand. It's technically a trashable card, but definitely still potent. But now 2 tags becomes, you know, the point where like the hammer can definitely drop. How's Boom different than HPT? You can trash it. And you can survive 7 meat damage. Especially if, like, if you play Tag Me and you have Obelisk, right? You can survive this. You can't survive HPT. If you have 7 tags, you can't, you die. You just die. And so it means it changes what you can print. Yeah, trashable is such a big deal. Double 4 credits. There's so many ways that Boom is a bit more awkward. Yeah. Influence on Boom is important too. Yeah, and Boom is much less influence than it's 3 influence. And HPT is either 4 or 5. I think it's 4. 5. Wow. Oof. Okay, I played NBN decks with this. I think the first game I ever saw you playing on the stream was a Tag Me Shaper. Ooh, how's that? How's it going? I don't even know what that would be. Tag Me Shaper. What were we doing? Something dummy box. That's probably true. Yeah, I don't know if Lies is exactly going to be coming back, but it is interesting. HPT is kind of expected though. The one not expected on his Pad Tap is on the ban list. Yeah, Mizuki, how's it going? I was kind of surprised Pad Tap wasn't on the ban list, but I inherently hate Pad Tap and I interact with it very poorly in a very illogical way. For that reason, it would be easier if Nisei banned it. They haven't. Instead, they're printing more Wayland dice that gives you credits on it. So like, buckle up. Single-handedly destroyed the Tag Me archetype. This came out like 1 month before Lies. I know, yeah, it did come out before. Hey, Duke, Andre, got any spoilers? Monday. I did soft spoilers about my spoilers, but we have like a pre-made half-an-hour video that'll come out on Monday. The first like, if you just want to watch 30 seconds, the first 10 seconds will show you all the cards. And then we have like a 29-minute discussion about the cards. So just hold on. It'll come out Monday in the morning, Eastern. Hating Pad Tab is totally normal and justified. Baza, glad to have your support always. Play Tag Me Shaper to great effect with Chaos Theory Count Siphon. John, we have that on the channel. We have those games on YouTube of you playing that. I remember that, the CT Count Siphon. I remember the first turn. I think you're playing against Dom. And Dom was like, what the hell is this? Andre pretends the trash cost on Pad Tab doesn't exist. Scrub, if you play decks that don't have money, you can't afford anything. Once people switch from Pollen to RH, people will realize, hey, Pad Tab exists. Time to shelf Shiteki again. Yeah, maybe. It only took Wayland 3 years to ice. That's better than Wall Static. That is not true. And you are absolutely besmirching the name of Battlement. 4 influence card, okay? This was already better than Wall of Static. And nobody cared about Battlement. The other card is much better. Fairchild 3 is back. And this is really agreeing. This is really interesting. That's wholesome and good and fun. This is very interesting. This was a card that was at one point banned. It's now been unbanned. It was also restricted. This came out a while ago. This came out in Flashpoint, so it's been out for a long time. And this was the best ice in the whole game for a really long time. 3 influence isn't that much. You get 5 strength, 3 very good subroutines for only 6 credits. It's absolutely above the curve. And we're at a world where this can come back. And I'm actually kind of surprised about this because Nisei was very clear that they wanted to tune down the power level of ice because they don't want ice that if you face check into it, excuse me, at a suboptimal time, you can just lose the game abstractly. And yet Fairchild came back. And I'm kind of surprised about that. I know lose the game is a bit like a stretch. I don't think you actually lose. It's not like running through something that does like 4 brain damage or wow. I meant to say net damage and then I thought of Brainstorm halfway through. Are they renaming Brainstorm? They're probably not renaming Brainstorm. So Fairchild 3 is back and it does compare a lot of times to like the other options. Now we have like Bran 1.0 and to Oncel 1.0. I talked about this on the Synchron stream. I asked, what is your tier list between Oncel 1.0, Bran 1.0, and Fairchild 3.0? It depends on the breaker suite. I think the answer was a lot of times Oncel is looking a bit worse modernly because Revolver's out and Revolver deals with Oncel incredibly well. While this is still 5 credits, and I don't honestly know how you break Fairchild 3.0. It's still very, very quite difficult. And this is a card that you can splash into any deck. It did show up. Like you saw like mid-range Pilana decks that would play this because it's a disgusting face check. It either takes your whole turn or you trash your cards. Interestingly, the do 1 core damage subroutine on this is technically fuel for some of the new runners. So we'll see if that actually matters. But yeah, it's back. I know you're not supposed to have favorite children, but it's pretty good. This is the good child. That's true. That is totally true. This is pretty impactful. There's also interesting questions of like where the C's play in modern HB, because a lot of the modern HB decks will, like you saw the bigger end of things, will play like 2 copies of Oncel 1.0, and this can fit into there. I don't know whether you're going to see it into the sort of like very like sports metal low to the ground rigs, but like an ASA list, this is a good scoring remote. Like you can't really afford to click through this every other turn to check what's in the remote. You're gonna have to break it eventually, and we don't have David or any other good like how do you break this? Like Amina, but then you have to install an Amina for 7. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see that. And then the last change is ban Cyberdeck Sandbox. A neutral agenda that got banned. It's a 4/2 that Nisei has printed. This is now another Nisei card that has been banned. People say that as in to rub it into Nisei, but I'm glad that they're actually like are banning their own cards that they print. The big vote. That's actually really true. Fairchild doesn't have an infinite loop, so Oncel is better. Yo, if someone ganks me into a Fairchild, I'll still be quite upset. But this card got banned. And I honestly was a bit surprised about this. I thought to some extent Off-World Office would be the one that's banned. A lot of people complain about this idea that these agendas are so ubiquitous and easy to play and are seeing play in factions over their in-faction options, which is a bit of a fail, I think. Generally, you want the HB decks to be playing any HB agendas, and a lot of them are only playing a single Luminal, and then everything else is neutral. But instead of Off-World, Cyberdeck Sandbox got banned. And I get that. To some extent, this means that virus decks can have a bit more breathing room. For what it's worth, Cyberdeck's Virus Suite did rotate or will rotate. So there's a fewer virus cards to get incidental value from this. Admittedly, this thing does snowball. If you score 2 of them, you're purging for 8 and stuff like that. You're also purging and gaining something at the same time, which is a bit backwards, maybe, considering purging was meant to be take a turn off. Yeah, FFG never banned FFG cards. Exactly. Sandbox is much stronger than Off secretly, you think? I think it's meta dependent, right? Like obviously if your every opponent deck is playing viruses, this is fantastic. But I feel like a lot of times I'd rather score and gain 7. But no, I hear you. I'm not a big macrophage person too. I think that's probably part of the issue. But we'll see what this does. Like what happens to the HB lists that are running only neutrals and Luminal? Like are they just playing Vitruvius instead? I imagine so. We did see some new HB agendas today, a 4/2. This has recurring value. It does have recurring value, but not a lot of competitive games do people actually purge. So it would depend on Macrophage or Cyberdeck's Virus Suite, one of those that does rotate. So we'll see. But I think the fact that like Sandbox came out means a lot of decks besides Virus Max were like very hesitant to play with viruses in general. So maybe that opens it up. Maybe we'll see more viruses too. Sandbox is better. Kevin, you come in and you say facts and you never explain it. And I appreciate that because then I know if I'm on the right or wrong path, but like, Architect deployment test? Oh, okay. How much this pushes out Amaku is a big deal to shoring up, speeding up decks. Yeah, that's true. Like with Amaku, if Amaku gets purged out and they make 4 credits, like it's absolutely disgusting. We'll see. But that's the changes. What does that do to the meta? It's largely dependent on new cards and rotation. It's like really hard to tell right now because we don't know what the landscape looks like. There's 3 big changes: the ban list, rotating cards, new cards. So who the heck knows? If Sandbox decks weren't purging versus you weren't on Crim. Some people purged my fermenters. That can't be correct though, right? Macrovade and CVS are the deciding factor since there's no off turn. Off-world is 1-time Sandbox is a lot of times. How often are y'all purging? Okay, We have way more, right? We have all the Shaper stuff, so I'm going to open it up. Then we got a bunch of stories that all say like one Wayland card or an NBN card. I'm just going to like buy, maybe I'm going to put the music back on because I have to go feed Nanako. It'll take like literally a minute. So maybe, yeah, I'll put some music on. Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. What's up? She got tuna and kale. Sometimes think she eats better than I do. In fact, the way that we feed Nanako is, I think, adorable. We take 2 options and we hold them up there, and she rubs her face on the one that she wants. She probably can't read or smell through packaging, but she does have strong opinions, and I respect that. Maybe I don't have the exact explanation, but I always felt better scoring a sandbox earlier than I did off-world. You do the same thing, Giles? Maybe it's a Calico team thing. I think we should start here. Ow. Okay. Captain Padma is Beaster, Intrepid, Explorer, 4515, mind you, just like all the runners. Wait, does Sable have Link? Sable doesn't have Link. Does Sable have Link? I'm thinking to myself that card is fantastic, but I saw the cost. Wow, I'm so excited for the card. So this is our Explorer. Ship Captain, no Link, thank you. Cyborg Identity. The first time each turn you run on R&D begins, you may charge one of your installed cards. And it says, what charges? Add a power counter to a card that already has one. A very straightforward ability. Very flexible. It gives you when you start the run, not when the run's successful. So you could technically like just beef it if you need a power counter. You might consider her as Earthrise Hotel, the runner. Probably wouldn't be that bad if you did that. Take that, Lat. Oh man, so much of Shaper is dunking on Lat. Seems good. One thing that's really important is that text. People are going to get really upset about this during events. A card that already has a power counter. You cannot charge cards that don't have power counters, whether this was done strictly so you stop putting power counters on like Crowder, or whether it's done as specifically as a balancing mechanism. So you can't empty your whole revolver and reload it, which is technically how you should be doing it. But it's weird. I feel like the boat will be great for early aggression. Go broke, slapping it down, and then force reses. I love boat. So the big question is, how many cards are there printed that are worth playing with power counter on it? I haven't actually run the number. I think there's some pretty obvious things. Revolver, really quite good. You have boat. We'll get to that in a second. You have Earthrise Hotel. Permanently is fantastic. You have weird things like Takobi and Niashia, I think. Whatever. Got a few that QPM. Wait, what do you mean, Hedonist? Get that boat? Yeah, you're dead, Radish. How's it going? We will get that boat. Excuse me. Oh, Niffer. Niffer is actually really good. I think Niffer is like nearly playable with her. Niffer is the breaker that gets power counters equal to strength. You get a power counter every time you fully break something. And at that point, once you get to that, you're basically just as good as Paperclip. Sometimes better. Not often, but sometimes better. Yeah, she is actually kind of rad. Yeah, she has like, it works really well with her. Yeah, free RDI. And by free, 2 credits. But it's good with her, but then you're doing this instead of anything else. Give me back Lady. Yeah, Lady would be really good. I guess Revolver is what we get. Oh, feeding your cat QPM. Yes, I get it. Yeah, she did enjoy it. What are the other options? Like, what would you do? X, power, Z, standard? Oh, I guess we have to do S, runner. I'm getting so much better at this. Everyone forgets about Niffer. I thought this was right. Why is this wrong? Oh, its side is D? Okay, sure. So I think there's a lot of stuff that don't make a lot of sense. Chatterjee University is like marginally interesting. It's the card here that says install a program from your grip, lowering the cost by 1 for every power counter on it. Whatever. Bachlan Botchkin was, I think, shouted out in one of the articles. Whatever. Costly String, kind of unique, kind of interesting, honestly. This is a new card we'll be talking about in a second. Endurance we'll be talking about in a second. I still don't think you'd ever play Sunya, even if you had all the power counters in the world. And I think things like Mind's Eye are like kind of interesting, but it's also not shaped like a boat, so whatever. Mache is not good. And Nyashia, oh, there's more, of course. Upia, whatever. Atman gives you some flexibility if you need it, which is actually kind of cute. Turning Wheel will rotate. The back doesn't really matter. And Temple of the Liberated Mind rotates as well. So it's neat. There's a lot of options. And I have no doubt you're going to see like at least, I don't know, I'm imagining 3 or 4 cards that either have the charge mechanic on it or work with that, which is pretty great. So you only need 1 successful run on HQ all game. For what, Isengrin? Law the Black File. Yeah, you can, the Black File rotates, right? You can keep the Black File technically around forever. Yeah, it rotates. Oof. Charging Clan Vengeance, pretty good. Yeah, abstractly. Are they ever going to unban that? Technically. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think you can unban Clan Vengeance with Essa. That'd be really good. So that's this runner. Flexible, good. Technically wants you to run. That's something people are excited from Shaper. I like the sweater a lot. I thought this would be somebody from like Iceland or I don't know. I think, I'm not sure the nationality of Padma is Bister. Whatever, we'll find out. Does Nisei release the way that they used to at some point guides for pronunciation? Because they did like for Ashes, I think, but I don't think I saw one for System Gateway. What did I just open? I just opened the, oh no, I wrong one. Hold on. Here we go. She's mixed heritage, Indian Scottish. Oh, she's Scottish. Padma's a Scot. Fantastic. Like the sweater. Ansuke said we're getting one. Oh, huge, 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 huge. So we have Endurance. It's a boat. Black File is the opposite, so it's bad with Padma. It's a boat. Love a lot of things going on here. The fact that the text is italicized, huge fan. It's big. It costs 8 credits, hopefully for 5 credits. It's a vehicle subtype, best subtype. When you install it, you place 3 power counters on it. It's 5 influence. The first time each turn, you make a successful run, place a power counter on this hardware. So that is going to get power counters. Comes in with 3. If you make a run on R&D, comes in with 4. And 2 host of power counters to break up to 2 subroutines. And you can't use 1 for 1. You have to do 2 even if you're breaking 1 subroutine. Limit 1 console per player. Cost 8 is a lot, but it's also a boat. I have a couple questions. Firstly, did Nisei consider to write the icebreaker subroutine on this for flavor? Because it is literally an icebreaker by definition. From my understanding, the Endurance is also potentially named after a boat from a famous Antarctic, I think, or Arctic explorer. Shackleton, I think is the name. I don't know enough about the history. We'll obviously figure it out sooner than later. Yeah, Shackleton, right? I don't know if I said hi, Alec. Pronunciation guide on the schedule for Monday. Oh, sick. That's super soon. Amazing. Can't believe Super Corridor got shafted by not getting the best subtitle errated on. You didn't buy. Hey. Fantastic. It's also another thing where technically the fact that this doesn't say interface, not that you can give strength to this, kind of explores the sort of design space that Nisei was talking about a long time ago, where like cards that can break subroutines that don't have interface on it. Maybe that's not a real talking point because I guess Boomerang works like that too. The fact that her console is this damn boat is so cool. And whether this card is good or not, honestly, I think if you play it for 5 credits with and we haven't talked about this yet, Rigging Up, which is basically just modded that allows you to charge, which is good. I really like modded as a card. I like Career Fair as a card. Any card that allows shapers to play nonsense quicker, I think is pretty important. The fact that this is 3 influence really upsets me. I think if it was 1 influence, it would be a very splashable card. And then you see maybe criminals even playing bigger breakers. Like maybe you'd see too much Amina, stuff like that. But it's quite good when Endurance comes down with 4 power counters for 5 credits. Andre, have you ever been on a boat? How's it going, Aaron? Yes, I have. I definitely have. For an ice somewhere. It's a shame Street Paler rotated because installing Endurance off of Peddler would be hilarious. Yeah, can you install Endurance off of a Palace Cafe? Can you get like the boat key from somebody? His next activation command wouldn't stop it if it was an icebreaker. Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can get Paul can sell you a boat. Oh man, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Big fan. Oh, sorry, Nana, I just booted you. I didn't see you there. Oh, my bad. Endurance is looking good in Kit 2. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like kind of interesting to see where this works. I think a lot of people want to like compare this pretty quickly to something like a Security Nexus, which also comes in for 8, but also costs more money. This is a really good panic button. It's like hard to get this down early. You're probably gonna have to play drip economy. You're also gonna have to play real breakers. The question is whether you can get away with like a weird breaker suite, whether you can just do like Atman 0, Atman 1, and then play like Leech and then Endurance, whether that's enough of a breaker suite. I think it's really fascinating. Algebra, Apex assimilating a boat. I think it's cool too. The fact that you could play this out of faction. It is 5 influence abstractly, but like, will you not run a criminal with a boat rig? Like Ken on a boat? Ah, it's so good. She wanted to Q loop a boat. Oh, you could. Oh, it's so weird. Can I report John for trying to embarrass me? The best flavor text in Nisa era. Pat, is this your flavor text? Edie doesn't mind the noise. She's happy just being nearby. I do like it. Edie, my Jews, in that little basket at the back. Admin a world with IP blocks sounds like pain. Yeah, the pick one, it's not the best. Like you'll probably have to run some way to clear the tags, but you can always break the IP block. I don't think IP blocks is anywhere near as popular as it used to be. Maybe it's getting more popular now, but who knows? Who knows? Can I report Pat for living rent free in my dreams? I wanted to pat Edie so bad. Edie looks like a real good, I don't know, boy or girl. Good dog. If I see Shaper's running 2 doofs in a deck, that technically anyone can run 1 copy of the boat, even 2. I'd argue that the doof has a bigger impact on, like, can have a bigger impact on the game. There's a lot of other things that break subroutines. There's not a lot of things that take 5 credits from the corp. This is the Shaper stuff. I think we're going to see more charge cards. I think if you've understood the original, like, the way that Shaper has played charge with Lady, like these sort of cards, and we've seen it already. I think Revolver is a hell of a card, but it's these sort of cards that pay by paying counters instead of credits. They've classically been incredibly powerful, especially for a faction that has recursion. This actually might be a time where I want to play Harmony AR Lab Therapy to return like 1 Lady, 1 Revolver, whatever it is. But that can be quite powerful. A Shaper that's actually aggressive that wants to run, and then just a good old goofy boat. Whether it's like, this is my favorite thing, is whether this card is competitive or not, it does not matter to me because I'm still going to play it. And that's so cool to see from card games. Like, I don't think I had a card like this in System Gateway, where it's like, I can't tell if this card is amazing or not, but I still love it. Like, I didn't have that attachment because it's very easy to tell System Gateway cards are like fundamentals, and most of them were quite good. E3 would have been so fun with Boat. Yeah, Kevin, it would have been really, really quite good with Boat. Amaku is back right now after the sandbox ban if you want a lean breaker suite. I still feel like that's a lean breaker suite, but that's a breaker suite that will run you into the issues which endurance also suffers, which is getting locked out. Like, I do think you have to run a modicum of like regular breakers just so in the worst case scenario you can still charge up cheaply. And I think admin probably works a bit better. But yeah, you're right. I think Amaku is a lot better potentially without sandbox. Admin for 5 is pretty good against Fairchild 3.0. I think charge is an elegant mechanic. I support it. Yeah, charge is great. Our resident Shaper John says it's good. A boat with a turtle companion? You make a whole armada? Oh, so cute. What boat is better, Wayland or Shaper? Oh, that's really hard. We'll get to it. Okay, we have, I think in the narrative, we have just 3 more stories. This was actually came out today, so this is fresh off the boat. There's The Butcher of Siberia. There's A Pillow Full of Feathers and Extract Part 1. And Extract actually has Asa still in it, and it reveals a card. We'll do it in a different order because I think it makes more sense to start here. I really like the story. Shout out to Narco. Content warning. Do read that. We get to the bottom. This is the one where we see the Wayland ID, right? Yes. Wait, just another card down here? Oh yeah, of course, of course. Okay, check this out. Pat says this is the most exciting card in the set. I agree. To some extent, I very much agree. Is Navi Mumbai City Grid still legal for a tiny bit? I don't think it is. That sounds like it's a Mumbai card. Oh no, Leviathan. Okay, OB Superiority Logistics, Extract, Expel, Export, Excel. It has a text box that looks a bit like a Doomtown card. Whenever you trash a res card, except during installation, I showed this to Maddie, and she was like, please don't make me read this. It's not that bad. When you trash a res card, except during installation, so when you install a card, you can trash cards. When you install ice, you can trash other ice. When you install an asset, you can discard, whatever. You may search R&D for 1 card with a printed res cost that's exactly 1 cheaper than the trashed card's printed res cost. Install and res that card you found ignoring all credit costs. Uses ability once per turn. A lot of words on there. I imagine it has to be worded like this. That's actually pretty elegant considering the amount of text. Yeah, it's very easy to grok. I think that's totally true. Like, once you read it once, you're like, oh, I never have to read that again. Like, it's not fiddly. I think the fiddly thing is the fact that once per turn is at the bottom. That's the thing where I get really excited, like, oh my god, I'm gonna do a combo, and then you get to the end. But like, so be it. Idea is when you trash something, go get something else from your deck that's 1 cheaper and res it for free. Okay, very fascinating. Very, very, very quite fascinating. And there's so many tricks built in. This feels like, to me, like potentially a Jemison kind of ability, but is widely way more flexible. And another thing is that it allows you to play with a larger card pool than you might be comfortable with. Like you can go outside and start playing some niche cards just because the res costs are relevant. and not feel too bad about it. It's not like Jemison where you have to run all the forfeit cards. This is like, you can run a lot of weird stuff in here. You could run Jemison cards in here too, which is pretty important. You don't have to reveal for Ob. It doesn't matter because you don't have to reveal because you have to res it. So you basically end up revealing it. You don't have to reveal it because you're resing it, right? But you're right. Like if you add it to your hand, it gets weird. So yeah, that's actually a good point, Aaron. You have to like draw it and like put it directly on the table. You can't return it to your hand. So what can you do? When I first saw that, I was like, okay, wait, we can do some wild stuff. You have border control on the remote server. They run the border control last click. You pop the border control. You've now trashed a card. You can install something from your deck that costs 3. Okay. Everyone likes hats. I forget the name of the hat guy. Chiriboga? Part Jemison, part Blue Sun. Yes. Chiriboga shows up. You can pass events from hand. If you can trash a 4-cost ice on the end of their turn, Chiriboga can show up. I think also the NBN Fast Events card, I never remember the name of, can show up. And that on its own also has a trash ability. You can fire at instant speed. Quite cool. That is quite cool. A big part of this is actually like having enough cards at certain costs that matter, right? Like, and then if you trash bash Chiriboga on your turn, what 2-credit card can you install that actually helps you score out? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you need enough things at different costs. And you definitely want things as much as possible that have trash can abilities that you can fire whenever you want. So the idea is like NGO front, oh, not amazing because it's 0. So there's nothing you can get with it. But then suddenly weird things like a launch campaign and like Nico campaign in Maryland, like those get good. When you trash your Nico campaign, I think it costs 2, right? You can get your launch campaign. Like that's kind of fun and kind of cascades. BWC is 2, right? What's BWC? This idea can fit so much value in it. It can really, and there's some like, you can do weird kill combos with this thing, right? Like, so the idea is that they run this, they're running your 4-cost server suddenly, and then an enemy comes out of nowhere, right? Like they break your border control, or you need a 4-cost that you trash. So you can't really do border control, but if you can manage to trash a piece of ice, we really need to see more support in the set for this ice that can trash itself. You can pull an enemy out of nowhere. I don't know how you do that. You need a 4-cost that you can trash at instant speed. Border control would end the run, so it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter, right? Because the border control would end the run. Or actually, could you do the triggers in a different order? Byroad Work Crew. Yeah, I was thinking about Byroad Work Crew. I don't know if there's a good way to make that work, though. I originally thought of Archer, but only ignores credit costs. Yeah, Vintage. Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, if there's additional costs, you have to pay them. You res an enemy before the run ends? Actually, it works. Ooh, so it works. So the idea is that the runner is running and you have a border control on an enemy on the remote server, you can do 4 damage out of nowhere. Are you going to expect that playing against Wayland? 4 damage mid-run out of nowhere? It's 2 damage, then the run ends. Like, that's wild. That's so wild. So I think there's fast advance tricks. I think there's definitely fast advance tricks. There's definitely kill tricks. The fact that you can also like kind of sell down your ice suite. And enemy hits first. Because the other card that was one of the other cards that was revealed on, I think this article, is the Sviatogor Excavator. I think this is a name that comes from some sort of legend. I forget exactly what it is. But this is a card that actually is in some ways a direct reprint of an old Netrunner card from the original core set called like Security Subcontract. But this card actually kind of makes sense because I think we did see a spoiler. I think it was from the co-op channel that was like a Wayland ice, which has an okay face check, but then very quickly scales off. Like it's not a good ice in the mid to late game. And the idea is that you can res that ice and then like trash it to get some other ice from your deck. I think that's actually quite good. Surveyor. This stirs up Roblox mining game fantasies. The flavor text on this is so dire, and especially if you read the story. I really like the flavor text on this. How does it work with Azef? It works beautifully with Azef. Azef now becomes so much better. Like it's the same sort of thing where we're looking at Azef and be like, well, this is a playable card outside of Azef. And then you see it where it actually succeeds, where you score an Azef and then you can search, you can trash like an ice to get something else. I don't know what the wild combos are with that. You're generally just getting better ice for the situation. And the cool thing is you don't have to put it where it was. So say like, oh, I scored an Azef and now I can trash an ice on HQ to get something to stop the Stargate. It's really cool. It is so cool and so flexible. And with the correct amount of support, you can see wild things that kind of rival in some ways cerebral imaging pseudo 7-point combos. Like I'm pretty sure if you like work really hard, you could get a couple points out of this in a single turn. Like dedication ceremony rotates, but we still have reconstruction contract. If you can trash this, like you can pull a 0 cost out of your deck. Is there any 0 cost that really helps you fast advance? I don't know. Getting a Rashida down for free is okay. Azef into Rokoko with meat advance is my favorite. Oh yeah, that's really cool. You could trash it too, get the Rokoko down, get advances on Rokoko, I guess. Does that work? An enemy does only damage during runs at least. Yes, yeah, you can't an enemy them out of nowhere. They have to be running. A lot of the cards you see, like another really good one's ping. Like, how do you run? Like, if they can trash a 3-cost during a run, and we'll see what the card pool looks like. If they can just trash a 3-cost, which there are ways to do it. Like, we talked about how calibration testing is probably marginally playable for 3 influence. You can trash this mid-run. This does not need to have a target. Oh, technically it does, right? Like, do you need another thing in the server? But if you trash calibration testing mid-run, you can go get a ping and give them a tag on their last run. Like, they just can't run a calibration testing last click if a single tag is like meaningful. There's some weird stuff you can do. There's some really weird stuff you can do. Also, of course, there's ice like Gatekeeper and all this sort of stuff that's best the turn you res it, so you can res it and get rid of it. I do worry that we're going to run into the same sort of idea that like you ran into with Foundry, where it's like, oh, it's turn 6 and you've pulled 8 cards out of your deck. Your R&D is 20 cards thick and has 15 agendas in it. Like, that is potentially an issue. That was something that caught up with the Grail. So you do have to watch out, because I think if you do too many skateboard tricks, like, your deck is going to be mostly agendas. How does once a turn work? Is it for yours and the runners? Yeah, Paul, exactly. Anytime in Netrunner it says once per turn, you can do it on either turn, and it counts as individual turns. So that's like why I love playing as McCaffrey and trying to install hardware on your opponent's turn to get the refund. Sounds like an issue with the flavor with Ob. What do you mean, Slummy? Season of Judge calls for Ob value, Rococo trashes. Yeah, we're going to figure it out sooner than later, and hopefully we just talk about how it works. My favorite thing about Ob is that the theme matches the mechanics. It's literally consuming piles of cards it sits on and will eventually just run out. Yep. Yeah, it's feeling itself, and eventually, just like in the story, you run out of places to go. And that's going to be a problem. Don't you try to talk me out of my skateboard tricks. Yo, Cephalopod, skateboard away. Kickflip away. I'm excited to see it. Last card here is Trust Operation. It is a Wayland event. It costs nothing. It's 3 influence, and it says play only the runners tagged. Trash an installed resource. Install and res the card from archives, ignoring all costs. This is weird. This is interesting. Trying to define what the cost of a single tag is, what's the penalty attached to a single tag is fluctuating heavily. Exchange of information, it rotates, right? Yeah, exchange of information rotates. So I'd argue that this is the worst single tag punishment in the game right now, or am I forgetting something? Because this rotates very soon. I'm glad that we played this before it rotated one more last time. Retribution can kill a boat. Yeah, it's like this or Retribution. Like, Retribution obviously kills the thing. It trashes any card. It's the exact same text as this. It says trash a runner card. Oh, programmer piece of hardware. Sorry. And this is the other side of it, which is trash a resource. And mind you, classically, there used to be cards that say, like, when the runner's tag, trash 2 resources. That was an old card. But this one also allows you to res something from archives at cost. For free. Sorry, at no cost. Yeah, All Seeing Eye stays. And All Seeing Eye is, like, good. It's good. Ob has the same kind of aesthetic with Grendel, the haphazard geothermal fracking. I like it. Yeah, if you read the narrative, like, it comes through really strong. But I don't know what you do with this. Like, obviously, you can res, like, something nightmarish for free. It's ignoring all costs and not only res costs. So if you want to res something like an archer, you definitely can. You don't have to forfeit an agenda because it is a cost, which is pretty cool. Yeah, totally free archer. It's like a better version of Restore. Yeah, no, to some extent. Well, Restore you can always just play. This you can't. So you can't like Restore you could just play, and Restore was playable, MCA austerity and all that. This is fascinating, especially in the context also of Ob, where like getting a card from your bin back on the table does get you back into that cycle of potential value. So we'll see how this goes. Oh, a bitter, not a better version. Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, trash something expensive, tutor something slightly cheaper, install the big expensive thing you trashed. Yeah, exactly. If you already trashed a card, you're kind of in a good spot. You bring it back and you're good to go. This is neat. This is really neat because this kind of shows off like what the threat of a single tag is in Wayland, but not in a way that ends the game, but a way that propels them massively forward in value. So we'll see. Would this make Corporate Town playable? The thing is, like, when it comes to things like Corporate Town, for what it's worth, like, out of any faction, Wayland is generally the best at being able to forfeit agendas anyways. Like, you have hostiles, you even have 2-0 agendas if standoff if you really want. Corporate Town is like kind of a meta call. There were some decks that did play this to huge impact when there's a lot of like runners that were based up on resources. I remember running into playing like Geist at Worlds, playing against an HB Sports Medal, playing Corporate Town, like absolute nightmare matchup. But I think Wayland could already play this if they really wanted to. I think getting a tag just to play a Corporate Town that's already in your archives is like way bigger of a stretch than just being like score hostile go. With Corporate Town, you've already trashed a resource with Trust Operation. Yeah, that too. It technically doubles down on something you've already done. So I don't think it's necessary. I don't think this really helps that much. But the idea that you can even like just get a free Sansan City Grid, like that's kind of cute. And then you could still score a 2-1 on the same turn. That's kind of cool. Are there any wildly expensive resources that could be used with? Wait. Wait, does Ob say any card you trash, or it's one of your cards? It's a res card. So if you're thinking of using this to trash a runner's card to get value from Ob, you can't, because runner cards are not resed. So the cost of the resource has no impact on this. All resources trash for 2 credits, right? Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, runner cards aren't res, so you can't use Ob to get value off trashing runner cards. Yeah, the res is like a really elegant way of making it so it's not your own installed cards. Like they just get that in there, which is good. It's like 2 stones, 1 bird or whatever. My favorite thing, mentioning pawn shop, is that there was constantly an argument used in old Netrunner where like a card came out in Shaper and it wasn't very good, but it was cheap. So people would be like, oh, I'll put it in my deck, it's fine. You can always sell it to the pawn shop. And now we literally have that as like an identity, let alone this asset on top of it. So fantastic. I think there's only one more article, a pillow full of feathers, that explores the news, NBN, and Vera, and Drago. Lovely art. This is Emilio Rodriguez. Does a lot of the corporation like building art, a lot of the identities. And here at the bottom, we have 3 cards. Pravidovost Consulting, Political Solutions. From the article, it's mentioned that this was originally a church, or did it just look like a church, or did I just misread it? And it says 4515, the first time each turn the runner makes a successful run, you may place 1 advancement counter on an installed card that you can advance. Political news fit for public consumption. So the name Pravidovost is the name Pravda, and Prava is generally used a lot of times for newspapers. If I'm not mistaken, Pravidovost was like a Russian newspaper for a long time. Pravidovost. Okay, imagine you spelled it right. I did, Pravdivost, excuse me. This means the truth, right? Yeah. Prava means truth. I know in Slovenian there's newspapers. Prava has the same like etymology in like Czech and other Slavic language. So this is the truth. Did you all talk about Boreal spoilers already? Felipe, how's it going? We're in the middle of it, yeah. Ain't no Pravda in the Ivestia and no Ivestia in the Pravda. What? This thing we've seen before. What is the name of the NBN agenda? I've immediately forgotten what it is. You know, some puppet master? Yeah, okay. There's an NBN agenda that did this. Whenever the runner makes a successful run, you may place 1 advancement token on a card that can be advanced. Nobody played this. It made no sense. It literally made no sense in context. It is rotating. And funny enough, if we go YouTube Metroball Grid, Ocarina, we streamed, I think, 2 Ocarina tournaments. It's an old Soviet joke from high school. Okay. So there's 2 Ocarina tournaments. I'm not sure. I think there was 2 of them that we streamed. I'm not sure which one it was, but the idea of what Ocarina tournament is, this was a tournament. Oh, it's right there, right? Puppet Master. This was a tournament that was organized by Sanjay, who you might know from the community. And the basic idea is that this was a tournament in which the runner identities and the corporation identities were the text boxes on unique connections or agendas in the game. So we saw people at this tournament actually play Puppet Master, the identity, which is a made-up thing that I mocked the art up for, and it has exactly the same text as this. Even with identity division, I nailed it. They have arguably better art. I do think the art on Puppet Master is pretty cool, but this art is also pretty great. So what does it do? And mind you, at the tournament, that identity did pretty well. It had a different card pool back then, but this is where we are right now. And this whole idea of playing NBN that gets free advancements, like, hey, Sanjay, the idea of working with traps is appealing. Get a little special offer. Hey, advancements are really expensive. It is hard to understate how good getting a free advancement is. As long as you have like a target that, it's not that hard. It's a click and a credit. That's a lot. That's a lot. Not only a click, but also a credit on top of it. That's a lot. A lot of identities just give you a credit, maybe clicklessly, but this is a click and a credit at the same time of your actions on your turn. On top of that, of course, these advancements come in before the run's considered successful. You can put these advancements on a trap. But the idea is, as long as you have somewhere good for these advancements to go, you're gaining a lot of value from your opponent running. And so there's a lot of ways to build this deck. One of the ways is just to run a lot of traps and go horizontal, which is what I think the Puppet Master deck did at the Ocarina tournament. So the idea was like, I think back then we still had, what's it called? What's the big Ghost Branch? This was the card back in the day. That said, it can be advanced, and it worked just like Urtica Cypher, except instead of doing net damage, it dealt out tags. And we don't have a card like this. We haven't seen NBN traps, advanceable traps, I don't think, since this. It's been out for a while now. So that was kind of a cool thing. It was the idea is like, am I really slowly advancing a project Beal until you score like a 13-point Beal or whatever? Or 13 advancement, 7-point Beal? Or is it an agenda that gives you a lot of tags? Yeah, technically, yeah, Aaron, you're right. False flag, huh? But otherwise, I think this does need a fair bit of support because the traps aren't exactly there. I don't know what you're going to do in NBN with like getting Urtiska Cypher on the table. For what it's worth, I classically played a bit of this like NBN horizontal trap deck that ran like snares and TGTBT back in the day and actually ran Big Brother. It was really fun. These cards haven't existed for a while, so I'm excited to see what Nisei prints to make this sort of archetype. But you can also go for something that's more value-based, right? Like you still have access to advanceable ice. Some of this ice gets really quite strong with enough advancements. A Ket gets really quite good if you advance it 3 times for free. You also have things like Biovault. Oh, this is Rotate? No, this is from Katara, which you get free advances on this. Of course, we've seen Vladisibirsk, which is, I think, the city in which this place is. There's a lot you can do, even if you're not doing like a trap, just to get a trap-based deck, just to get more value from these free advancements. You can do a heck of a lot. You really can. Oh, the Bitcoin Iron TGTBT is so good. It's a really great, especially with the hindsight of what crypto looks like now. The art in this is stunning. It's really good. I never played Puppet Master, but the card is sick. Jingless, no one did. So don't worry, you're not missing out. But we all agreed it was really cool. It's a credit that doesn't trigger pad tap. Oh, that's a great way of looking at it. That's true. Is Trigger Light going to be legal? Yep. Yeah, Trigger Light is in system update. It'll be legal. Another really good target. Trigger Light. Fast advance. Pre-advancements go. Just show that Titan Transactional gone banned? Sorry? Oh, free advancement? I think the idea would have been too powerful if it was released in either Jinteki or Wayland. It's a happy medium. Yeah, I think that's totally true. In Wayland, it would be upsetting. In Jinteki, it would also be like very hard to play around. You just only run centrals at that point. Yeah, Beal or no Beal. I've been tinkering with the NBN deck that tries to rush a Puppet Master and then get free advance on Wayland Ice. And Algebra, like you don't have to tinker anymore. It's going to happen since turn 1. Isn't that really good? Oh, Gene Splicers need too. It's weird to be like, what are you going to do with this damage? And again, you have... Do you know what, like, really surprisingly is a card I can never remember the name of? Clearinghouse. It takes me like a second. Yeah, Clearinghouse is also another nice thing. Like, sometimes cards are just going to get advancements and you have to worry about them because eventually you can just die. You can just die. We also see a couple other cards that come with this. We have Ubiquitous Vig. Didn't he say call up Adam Doyle and just be like, we need a couple paintings of hands? Because it looks like everything Adam Doyle has drawn for Nisei for the set is just hands. I don't know, was he on file as a hand expert? Adam Doyle does good hands. Actually, seeing this and seeing Adam Doyle draw art back for Netrunner is so cool. Adam S. Doyle, mind you, excuse me. GLC spoilers are official crypto crash. Yeah, no, I saw it. It's really, really cool. He was close at hand. Ah, fuck. It's a lot of orange hands against blue backgrounds. Yeah, I know. Did he like, how? Because I know like Nisei generally says like, oh, we're doing this whole suite of things. Call up Cat. We're doing this. Call up Bruno Belixa. We're doing this. Call up somebody. Adam is so good. Adam's great. Clyde is coming out from behind the couch. Oh, Clyde. Okay, I'll be quiet. Clyde's out. They look like the Escher hands. Yeah, the ones that are drawing themselves. Technically, we're talking about standard, right? About startup, does this mean the runner is semi-screwed if they get no expose? There's some very, for what it's worth, Mizuki, there's like no playable expose in standard. Same as startup. Like there's one card that exposes currently in standard after rotation, and it is ass. It's really quite bad. I wouldn't consider playing it. So, yeah, you're right. Like, how do you play against trap decks? Get good. Stargate. I don't know. Maybe Adam didn't only do hands. Those just happen to be the first spoilers. Yeah, Orbital. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. You can just stop being a baby and just run the card. Ooh, smiley, sarcastic face. Yeah, no, you can just run it. Mind you, Ubiquitous Vig here is a pile of coins. You can advance this asset, and when your turn begins, gain a credit for each host advancement counter on it. 1 to res, 4 to trash is good numbers. This doesn't look very good. Once you start getting free advancements, it's okay because now it's like a card you can put on the table to guarantee value if you have nothing else to advance, which on its own is pretty okay. Advancing this yourself is a bit rough. It's not something you want to put into a naked remote server, I think, and take time advancing it. But as like an NGO type front thing where you go install advance, and then potentially beta run, and even if they run it, you can still gain like some amount of money back. It's going to take a while to get your money back because, again, advancements are expensive. That's not too bad. It's probably something that you want to ice up with at least 1 ice, and then every time they run, it gets more and more powerful until it really baits something. What's a Vig? Yeah, Vig, actually, I looked this up. So it's used as for bookies as like a surcharge the house takes, but it actually comes from a Russian word. I think it comes from a Yiddish Russian word that's a bit longer. We can look it up. That talks about taxing and like some amount that goes to somebody else. Vig, what does it mean? Vigorish, is that actually it? I think that's right. Vigorish? Yeah, Vigorish. Known as the juice, underjuice, the cut, the take, house edge, or simply the vig. It's a fee charged by a bookmaker for accepting a gambler's wager. In American English, it can be referred to as interest owned as a loan shark and consideration credit. And it comes from the Yiddish slang vigorish, which was itself a loan word from Ukrainian or Russian. Yeah, gains are winning. Really cool. Really, really, really cool. Vigosh. Thanks, David. Honestly, would love more Yiddish Netrunner cards. Yeah, when are they printing a golem? I want to see a cool ass golem. Sort of like Hebrew and Yiddish folklore is fascinating. Probably Italian mob got it from the Russian mob. Well, they took it from someone else too. Vigorish sounds like a British person describing something that has some vigor. It's vigorish. I wonder if they have a card that allows for the movement advance encounters on the runner's turn. On the runner's turn is really hard because those sort of cards will be like valuable at every, like, I just think it's a design space that Nisei might be a bit scared of. Like anytime that you have a card that is like meaningful and impactful at every single paid ability window, like the sort of spark thing or the free lunch thing, I kind of get a bit, spider sense, like something here's wrong. So who knows? Vlad Grid moves counter to the runner's turn. Oh, you can do it. Yeah, you're right. Vlad Grid can move counters on the runner's turn, but only to a card in the remote server. So it's a bit less like dodgy. Yeah, Vlad's the closest to that because Vlad can do once per turn. So you can do Vlad on your own turn. This says 2 host events and place 2 counters on another card in the root of the server that you can advance. Okay, real talk. These cards came out in the Midnight Sun booster pack and got full art. And now we're actually seeing like different parts of the art because the art had to be a bit, zoomed in on to see more of it to fill the card. I think some of the Midnight Sun booster cards look better not in full art. I think one of the big ones is Azef because you actually see the rest of the story because you don't see any part of the story here, this is way cooler, I think. You missed this. It's underneath the text box. Why move counters when you can move the cards? What? Wait, what? Reconstruction contract already moves counters. Some restrictions apply. Yeah. Wait, you can, Rococo's click list. You could do it on the runner's turn. Look at the gun. Oh yeah, the gun. I know what you mean. It's shooting an archer. Look at the gun. Confused me. I thought we were looking at that. Yeah. Henny, how's it going, by the way? Yeah, the gun is like headshotting an archer. Also, I don't fully understand how this gun works. Does it shoot from 2 barrels? Like it's a double barrel revolver? Like I know shotguns have this. I've never seen a revolver like this. Is that a real thing that can happen? Also, the archer's depicted in this as female, which is, I think, a fresh take on this. Mine looks better horizontally, I think. Yeah, kind of hard to tell. Let's see what Cat's up to. Deep dive. This one I like a lot. I don't know, Cat. I think I like the full art in yours better. It's framed really nice. This you see more of like the actual deep dive, which is obviously hella cool. I don't know. I think these special like knockout cards, I really like the full art because it does feel very powerful when you draw them. It just works. Olif, how's it going? I also see the flavor text really good. Oh, that's true. Also, the full arts lost the flavor text. Real talk. Okay, let's rewind a bit. This is the sort of thing that I care about. And I brought this up with Pat. And I don't know if that fixed it or not. Okay. This is going to seem petty as all hell, but forgive me for this. When Nisei has an issue. One issue that I think they could take some criticism on is that Nisei, okay, hold on. I feel like an ass criticizing Nisei. They've been doing a great job. I mean this in the best of efforts. Whatever. Is that line spacing has been pretty dodgy on some cards. I've spent a lot of time looking at subtitling, doing subtitling for video and stuff like that. My sister works in this field too. And understanding when you're meant to break a line for easy readership is like very important. And it's a skill that so many video editors I worked with who just have to subtitle for social don't know. And I've actually written a whole article about this internally for my old job. And like, you can go on Netflix, you can go on BBC. They have really good like articles on how to do line spacing. This is something that probably doesn't matter to so many people, but Nisei has improved it. The original version of ESA that they sent to us had a really awkward line break where it said the waiting is useless, the crisis is here, and then pick a side was on the bottom, or the crisis, I forget, the break was like in a really awkward spot. And I'm so stoked to see the full card actually crushes it into 1 line or breaks it into 2 lines. No orphans, exactly, parallel, something like that. And there's some Nisei cards that have absolutely terrible flavor text line breaking. Again, stuff that probably I only care about. Ashes, I think, is kind of rough. Revolver's a bigger chamber. That makes sense to me since Padma is all about customizing her rig. So if we go to sets, IQ is the best one to look at this, honestly. With the line spacing, I think it's, I don't know whether ashes or uprising, but these are things that like, you know, they could just easily be better. Okay, again, I feel like such an asshat to say like things could be easily be better. Just fix this, Nisei. Like obviously it's like a bunch of work. I don't know what templating and translation works. Don't at me. The first set was, I think downfall was worse. Okay, now I'm spending way too much time calling this out. Feels like an attack. Like stuff like, oh, where's the bad HB ones were rough. Ugh. If this took this long, I wouldn't have done this. Stuff like this. This is minor as heck, but like it will encourage a culture, and that is on 2 different lines. That's not right. You shouldn't do it like that, in theory. Again, this is something that it seems like they're doing already a better job, which I'm really excited about, but I'm excited to see stuff like that cleaned up. This is good content, honestly and sincerely. Sanjay, appreciate it. But it's stuff like this that like I think a lot of times where you just have text in like an Excel document and you push it to a card, this is not considered. But there's so much more you can do with this stuff that does better storytelling. If I'm not mistaken, another version that I saw earlier that I don't think was as good as it could be is this. Yeah, like this I think could be better. Like this says identify, contact, and trap, which is really nice. It's an acronym for ICE, which is something that has shown up, I think, before in a card art. But then it says counterintelligence never changes. Would this be better if counterintelligence never changes was on its own line at the bottom, like underneath this? Like if someone hit return carriage before counterintelligence never changes. I think this would read nicer, and the joke, the context would be easier to understand from a difference. How should it be done in this example? So it depends on this. Generally, you don't want to like separate the part, what is called the article from the word. So just encourage, hit the enter there, a culture of driving competition, solved. Like it's that simple. You just don't want to divide like compound verbs. You don't want to divide whatever it's called, like article and then the subject is talking about. There's just like very simple rules on where you don't break. It gets worse probably when it comes to card text that's difficult to read. Like when you score this agenda, look at the top 5 cards. Like it's not great that the and top 5 cards are separate. Again, a lot of this becomes to like interesting like card spacing stuff, and you have to take time fiddling with it, and you have to spend time uniquely on each card. It's not like an algorithm can do it, but like that is practically quite wrong. And this would read way better if look at the top 5 cards was together, because look at that's like just not a great break. This is my job, share all the feedback. Kevin, if you want to talk about it after, like hit me up. But like line spacing for both flavor reasons and also for understanding what a card does is quite important. And I think it's something that like, unfortunately is like the last step of a huge marathon that maybe doesn't get attention. And like, I get it. Like, honestly, I get it. A lot of people don't nail it. Like res 1, that's awkward. That should be res 1 together. There's no reason that should be broken apart. That's really hard to understand. Cool. You have an article you wrote about it. Unfortunately, it's internal. I gave it to the company I worked for, so they own it. I don't own it, but it's very easy for me to synthesize this stuff. In fact, if you look it up, like if you go to like BBC has really good stuff on this. BBC subtitling guide. A lot of this is like very open source subtitle guidelines, and they will tell you very clearly when they subtitle. And this looks a lot more country. Netflix also some really good subtitling guidelines. They'll tell you like when to line break, when not to line break, stuff like that. Yeah, like typography, positioning. You can look into this. There's a lot of stuff, and obviously, like it's a whole field. Andre, will go to my birthday party? Yeah, Aaron, maybe. When is it? How can I subscribe to Andre Typography Talk? Seriously, I'm currently with my wife at a calligraphy conference. Language and print is important. Oh, hedonism. That's super cool. I'm not like an expert in this. My sister's doing her like master's thesis right now in accessibility and like subtitling and captioning. So a lot of this she's taught me, and then I work in a video where there's a lot of subtitling that's like necessary for, you know, social landscapes. And then I see stuff where it's like, what the heck are you doing here? And so I cared about it. If you want to build a deck with bad line breaks, add 3 copies of Bad Times. How bad is that? I don't think FFG was like particularly, I don't remember it being that bad, but I don't think I cared back then. Yeah, it could be better. I don't know. Could be better, but it seems like something's happening because some of the original versions that like Michael sent to me had worse line breaks, and now they seem to be better. So maybe it's just part of the thing at the end. I'm excited to see. When did we discuss kerning? I don't think you can mess up kerning because kerning happens automatically. I'm thinking we need a director of line breaks. Yeah, hit me up. That's all I can do for Nisei. I'll just tell you when to hit enter. I'm joking. I know it's very difficult too, because also with translation and a lot of this stuff comes from like Excel spreadsheets or whatever. Anyways, my wife went from English teacher to proofreader. So many style guidelines exist. It's wild. Yeah, there's so much. Like you can spend so much time on that. Okay. Hey, Maddie. The cat got fed. Otherwise, I think that's all of the scoops from the Nisei website. Yes, we're not missing. One thing that's really important is this preview blog. There's a couple things that are actually really important that I think can slip under the radar. First thing, Aaron, why are you saying no? First thing is, we've seen all the identities. It's been confirmed, and this page kind of confirms it, but like it looks like HB and NR Jinteki are not gaining. Oh, I missed Matrix Analyzer. Excuse me. I'll finish this thought. You're right. I missed a card. It looks like those identities aren't going to be in this set, and I'm assuming that they're going to get identities in the next set. It also 100% looks like that, if you ask me, and there's slight spoilers here, but it looks like the HB identity from what I've seen. You know the name of it, and I'm pretty sure it's some sort of Bioshock type shit, which I'm totally excited about. You'll see other spoilers. We'll talk about them a bit more next week, but it looks like HB has built a city under the ocean, and it's called Thule. And I'm hoping that's what's happening at Parhelion, because it's really, really, really cool. The ones that we sent earlier weren't done. I have done the tweaking. Oh yeah, Kevin, 100% believe that. Yeah, I have no doubt we saw things as early as Nisei could send it to us, which we heavily respect. Like anybody who's working with content loves to see the early stuff so they can plan their content. Like if you have early stuff that's not perfect, send it. Like that stuff's fantastic. Okay, last thing. Vasilisa. I think the name Vasilisa comes from some sort of Slavic folklore. Vasilisa is particularly meant to be somebody quite pretty. I haven't done enough research. We'll do more when we do our full set review. But Sentry Observer, 2 to res, 2 strength, not bad, 2 influence. And has an on encounter. When the runner encounters this ice, you may pay a credit. If you do, place an advancement counter on an installed card you can advance. And a single subroutine gives the runner a tag, which is a pretty good subroutine because it's just annoying enough that you want to break it, but is kind of annoying if you have a Mikhail. No task for the witch set would ever be too. No task the witch set would ever be too great for Vasilisa had her mother's blessing. Like too great probably should be together. You see how I read it and stumbled through it? Whatever. Art's fantastic. Who is this? Balance Sheet. Oh, Balance Sheet did other Netrunner stuff. That's really cool. And this is basically a reprint of Matrix Analyzer. Art is absolutely slamming. It's really quite good. Very interesting alternative to Turnpike. Yeah, it's cool. Turnpike has seen play as an interesting on-encounter tax and just an annoying enough subroutine. Turnpike was trace 5 for a tag. Matrix Analyzer, this art actually is like pretty big. It shows up, I think, a fair bit in the Learn to Play FFG Netrunner video. And this is basically a direct reprint of this card. It costs a bit more. It's a bit less strength. That's not a trace, which is obviously better, but it has the same text. On its own, this card wasn't very good. I don't remember seeing the see any play after like the core set came out. Maybe in the core set it was fine to get your advancements on your ice wall or what have you. But in the context specifically of the new NBN ability that obviously has things to advance cheaply, this thing is really annoying. Like, I don't know what you deal with that. But again, here you actually have to pay the credit. You still save a click, so it's still definitely an advantage to you. And now it makes it way harder. The idea is that if you have a Vasilisa guarding a card in a remote server and they run, you get an advancement from Vasilisa and you get an advancement from your ID ability, which means that any card that they can run in the remote server can suddenly have 2 advancements on it, which is pretty wild for traps that you can kind of just put anywhere. Have there been any traces in Borealis this far? I don't think we've seen any. Yeah, I really don't think we've seen any. Is Baba Yaga still legal? No, I think Baba Yaga rotated a while ago. Balance Sheet is so good. Yeah, Balance Sheet has some really cool stuff. Oh no, oh, wow, Baba Yaga is still legal. Okay, well, Halloween content's sorted out for another year. Imagine playing Matrix Analyzer when you could just play Hunter. Yeah, I know, that was kind of the issue. Hunter was just a bit better in most ways. Pat wrote the flavor text for Vasilisa and didn't realize it kind of mirrored Matrix Analyzer's text until someone said I did a good job with that. Pat, if someone calls you a god, just take the compliment. Analyzing was great. Delegating commands turned out to be even better. And then we have the Sklar special. No task for which set would ever be too great. For Vasilisa had her mother's blessing. Cool. Hunter was like underrated. I think Hunter is just like a good enough card. It was a card I'm excited to get in like draft or sealed or whatever. I wish they do a new spin of Rumor Mill art on a new card. Yeah, I don't know whether like it's weird because Nisei generally wants to use their own characters and not do the FFG characters, but you do see some FFG characters pop up in the set in like minor background stuff, which is really fun. But whether we're going to ever find out who PSK is or what PSK is, Princess Space Kitten, who knows? Who knows? Saddest thing is that Nisei can't reference PSK. Exactly. Yeah, Aaron has the same thought. Pat, where's Apex and Midnight Sun? Spider Post? Is this net jogging? Did you change your name? Hunter making news. Yeah, Hunter was fine. Hunter was actually quite annoying. 3 cards to break is fine for 1 cost ice. Okay, so back to where I thought we were meant to be, but I messed up. I don't even know where it is. Yeah, so the preview schedule is here. Again, it looks like we have all our identities so far. There's some other stuff that's scheduled. I think the majority of Nisei stuff has been largely posted. But today we had the Retromancer, tomorrow the Shadow Net's coming out with stuff. Sengren's on Saturday, Sokka has something on Sunday. We'll have a video up on Monday. Also, Anzuke is going to be writing an article introducing the objectively most adorable of runner cards. It looks like that might be the Netcat. Then we have Slumscast, and then Doomrat and Sanjay hosting a stream on Wednesday as well. Baba Yaga and Vasilisa in the same story, right? I think so. I know Vasilisa comes from like Slavic lore, but I don't know enough about the folklore of exactly the Baba Yaga. I know the Baba Yaga is a witch who goes around on I think like a pepper mill, and she has a house with chicken legs, but that's like the most I know about it. That's what an internet virus would say, sus. Yeah, okay, Vasilisa is from the Baba Yaga story. Fascinating. They said Shaper's their favorite faction, the Slender. Did they actually? Did they speak on your behalf, Orbital? Are you a Shaper fan now? Super cool. Okay, another thing, of course, there's been so many more spoilers than this, but they've been largely from the community. And I'm going to take some time and just like, I'm not going to show this stuff off. If you go to r/Netrunner, this is compiled by Chaos of 99, who's been putting together links of where we've seen everything. And if you hit the source button, it'll take you to the source. So for instance, Agostina Ivanovskaya was revealed on Vesper stream. If you go this should actually open Vesper stream. So go and check out everybody who's putting out content, who's spending time talking about this and making stuff. They spend a lot of time on this. So definitely go check out there. Another really cool thing is Sengren has been streaming. I think it's about 5:30 Eastern every day this week so far. And it's the daily cast. It's something that happened the last spoiler season that Ed was hosting, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, Sengren has guests on, and they basically talk about that day's worth of spoilers. And it's really interesting to hear like generally multiple people's take on what's coming out and them quick reacting to it, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It's been a really fun listen. There's a lot of stuff here. Daig is not fully spoiled, right? Is Daig the companion? Yeah, Daig is cat, right? Bucha, Squee. Oh, Bucha is such a good name. Bucha's pumpkin. Fantastic. They didn't show the 17 cost ops for HB. I cannot wait to see what it does. Yeah, there's a 17 cost HB operation called Big Deal. That is, I think, a champ card, right? That's been very slowly revealed. And this card is absolutely nonsense. 17, 3 trash cost, terminal removed from game. And nobody knows what the sentence does here, which is buck wild to figure out what this does. I'm really excited. This art is fantastic too. I really like this. I'm pretty sure I read that this on the right is Sam, and this is actually meant to be Dean, which I don't know what the story is here. This is the biggest story of the spoiler season. Whatever this card is, like, I hope it is playable and has an impact on the game, because I would be very excited if this does have an impact on the game. I don't also think we've seen art by Dimmick so far, but I like the style a fair bit. Is this HB sucks? Pass it on. Actually, because when was the North American Championship that this was referenced to? This is HB sucks. Pass it on. I also didn't realize some of the other arts that are like the champ card reprints, like what is the alt art of Border Control has a narrative with another player in it. I didn't realize that. Gain 18 credits, yeah. That'd be really good. Doesn't even cost a click. Ends your turn though. It looks like a 1-line or 2-line effect. Yeah, it's probably pretty elegant. I think the spacing here is a bit generous, but it's probably not I don't even know if it's a 2-line effect. Take another turn? I don't think take another turn for 17 is enough. That's not enough for 17 credits. Because, like, what can you do with take another turn? You have to play this so you can do install advance. And then you could score it at like a 5-3. But you need this and a seamless. And then you still end up having to pay like an immense amount of money. Also, the question is, like, how do you get this much money in HB? I have no idea how to do it, largely besides like fully operational. I have no idea. Control runners next turn. Oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. It looks like, based on the way that this has been dripping out, that we're going to see it on tomorrow and fully. And another huge shout out, if you haven't checked out, and like this is just worth shouting out on its own, we probably should do it every stream, is that spoiler for, I guess we can show the name a bit, but this spoiler was revealed on Gordian Blade. Is this Lost Geeks website? But this is Gordian Blade, which is basically kind of like a approximation to what Wordle is for Netrunner cards. And on this day, when you guessed it, you're trying to guess a card that doesn't exist yet. And then there's actually a really cool narrative that talks to you when you find the card. And that's how I think the Thule thing came up, because apparently there's multiple narratives that not everyone will get the same narrative when they solve this thing, which is really cool. And on top of that, Gordian Blade, like if you don't go to this day and you just go to any day, it's really quite fun. And even if you solve this one, you can actually just continue practicing and playing different ones. It's kind of cool. I really like this one. The secret ingredient is crime. I've also been scooped that there's a 4 in the missing text. Oh, whoa. Whoa. Gain 4 clicks isn't enough. New campaign card? Yeah, there's a new campaign card. I think there's a new campaign card, like the refuge one. It's weird. It's like very not weird, but also very weird how people are trying to react to this. Be like, can we play this? Take 4 extra turns might be good enough. Take 4 extra turns might just be good enough. For 17? Because you still need to score out. But basically, if you play that, you win the game. But I'm assuming if you play a 17 credit card, you win the game, right? What can you do with 4 extra turns? You could do install advance, next turn advance, 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 get a 4-2. Then install advance, 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 advance. It'd be pretty boring to watch someone take 4 extra turns. I don't know. It can't be gain clicks, so it's terminal. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it can't be. Install res 4 cards for free. Vintage for 17 credits. I don't know even if that would be good. Because it would have to be in an archetype that doesn't see play. Which is like a deck that runs expensive ice, but also wants to hoard 17 credits. It's weird. Win off a Beal, that's true. Make your own agenda points. Yeah, I think I feel like if this was just added to the score area as an agenda worth some amount of points, like that'd be reasonable. It's pretty boring watching someone take 4 turns in a row. Yeah, but Solomir, cold ones turns are fun. They're exciting. There's accesses. It's not just like install advance. But no, you're not wrong. If you did win it, it wouldn't need RFG. That's true. Yeah, it does remove itself from the game. So it seems like you can play this and it's not going to end the game. Shuffle archives into R&D. So just like a Jinteki identity. Big deal is a soft tapworm counter. It's a really good counter to diversion of funds, let me tell you. Until it's not. Yeah. 17 credits is wild. I'm really excited. So far, the season's been great. Again, we have a video. We got to finish it and get it out on Monday. We have 3 criminal cards. I talked a bit about it early on the stream, but it should be coming out in the morning. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I guess I'm going to just shill the channel. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, you'll get a notification when the video goes live or it goes on your feed, or you want to hit the bell button. It'll actually give you like a ping on your phone when it goes live. Otherwise, you'll find it on Reddit. You don't have to see it on the minute it comes out. And I'll post on Reddit with the card links. I'm hoping. I'm going to be like on site working on Monday morning, so I don't know how easy it's going to be to do all that stuff. But like, man, it's been such an awkward experience. Because Nisei said this is the schedule to put out cards. And then yesterday I got Invisalign in my mouth, so like talking is not too easy. And then this weekend we have to travel suddenly, so I thought I'd be able to do the video on the weekend. So it's going to be like a late night tonight and a late night on Sunday. So we'll see. Anywho, it's like 11:15. We've been talking about Scoops for a long time. And like I don't know what to do at 10:15. Like, do we play another deck? I shouldn't be clearing all these links because I use these links usually. Hold on, I'm gonna unclose some of these. What do we do? Thank goodness Andre is finally fixing his teeth. Aaron, fuck. At least you know that big deal can't be played a sub game in Netrunner. So many tabs. This is nothing. I had to do a video talking about 3 cards. You know how many tabs you open for that? A lot. There's more spoilers. Yeah, I know. There's a lot more spoilers. I just don't want to do like I generally want to leave the community spoilers alone so that you go check out their pages and so you don't just tune into the Metropole Grid and watch all this other stuff that people would like to go play. Yeah, we'll play. I think we're going to play another one in this NBN game because I have it loaded up and I'm going to do the exchange at Hard Hitting News change into this deck before we start. You could talk more. Honestly, today's good enough just to talk. It is. I have kind of like, what's it called? I've kind of, spoilered out. We're spoilered out in the world that we are talking about. So let's see how bad this is. Oh, we did make the change. When did we do that? Mizuki, how do you keep getting in here? Are you just refreshing the lobby? That's wild. All right, we played against this deck before. This deck does have misdirection, so the tags aren't that strong. It's a Shaper deck. It looks like this is one of the like strong big cab Vanessa decks. We played against this last week. Oh, well, Mulligan. The send's not great. That's better, I guess. Hey, Aaron, take care. Have a good night. The whole week out of the shame that I forgot there's a claw in the deck. For what it's worth, if we believed in ourselves, we could have beat the clot with a single focus group. Yeah, last week we focus grouped twice. We did install advanced focus group, But the focus group actually would have got enough advancements. We could have just didn't install focus group. So they couldn't really clot us. Stream Sniper Mizuki feels bad, man. I have to put out a warning at some point. Be like, we can't play every game against the same person in a night. So world tech, so technically I did not tech against you. I was learning. Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah. No, I heard. Yeah. No big deal. Okay, so we're off. They can go pretty slow. I think we're actually going to call program on this. I don't know what their hand has. Last time we had to remember what their deck was, but they generally want to pull programs out with Cabinessa. So there's a small chance that we get punished for not calling event properly. These are really good on the remote server because we have 3 QPMs in the deck. Juet's actually pretty good on the outermost because they have to commit to dealing with this, and then they can't simulchip or self-modifying code, which is good. We probably want to actually open with this. We shouldn't have opened with hedge fund. We should have opened with something else. Because now this is really awkward. Yeah, that was actually a pretty botched turn. We definitely didn't need to open up with a hedge fund. I'm guessing it'd be early orbs, so program could be a good call. Yeah, I think we're going to call it program early. This doesn't really do anything, but it's kind of the amount of money we want to spend on this. They have like a couple cheap programs too. Like they have, I think they have Mayfly. Can you rep the recent circuit breakers chat? What do you mean? I don't know what that means. Mizuki's got to let other folks get in. Yeah, I know. We got to make a rule to some extent, but only one per night's good enough, right? All people should attend. I don't know what you mean, jogging. I'm glad I can actually stream live again. I'm caught at home with COVID, DX. Oh, hopefully you're feeling okay, Jinglis. No program. I'm booking my flights to Toronto soon. I'll be bringing the Tim Tams, I promise. Hell yeah. What's the social stuff that happens during Worlds outside of games? I don't know if a lot of it's like entirely organized. A lot of the stuff is a bit organic. People saying like, oh, let's go out for dinner. Let's do this. I think you'll hear more closer to the date. Also, we can trade Tim Tams very easily for Coffee Crisp, which is our local rare chocolate. But I'm not entirely sure. I haven't got my tickets yet. I need to reach out to Nisei to figure out also for like, I know I talked a bit about them about streaming and stuff, and they have to figure out their setup. I think we're just gonna keep calling program. They unfortunately have Pat Tab. We probably should be trashing that. We should have trashed that this turn, I think, because we're gonna give them more money with Rashida. Circuit breakers are soon. Circuit breakers Spider have been going on for basically the whole year. Like they came out, I think, in March. We've already had one. We had one in May, I think. Deal. I'm very excited. Plywood. Yeah, Coffee Crisp is uniquely Canadian. It doesn't exist outside of Canada. Coffee Crisp is really good too. It actually is like quite good. Like sometimes you have things that are just kind of rare. But this is rare and good. I've been addicted to salted caramel Tim Tams recently. Got to put them in the freezer too, like all Tim Tams. I've never done that. Yo, real talk. Okay, now that I have like this stuff in my mouth, they're difficult to remove. And the one thing that I'm realizing is that's having a big impact on like eating in general. Because I'm normally someone who snacks. Like if I'm hungry, I'll go somewhere and get food. Oh, they can't steal Bologna here. This is like a really bad run into hard-hitting news. But now the issue is, if I need to eat any amount of food, I have to like take these things off, brush my teeth, and like now I don't know what's happening. Like I'm eating like 2 huge meals a day instead of just like being peckish. It's catching up with me. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like trying to like bulk. Oh man, if we drew an economic warfare too. Oh, okay. We asked for hard-hitting news. I think we have one. Okay. Cool. I guess we'll put this on RD. I guess we can put this in the server. I guess. And then I guess we do that. We definitely wanted to score one of these. They do have links, so they can go up to 6. We have to make it 7. I didn't overpay, did I? No. If we drew an economic warfare there, that would be the nuts. Unfortunately, we didn't. I think we're going to call event here because there's no program that will give them like credits, but they could Deuce's Wild here or do something. Calling program would make sense if they like pull misdirection from their deck. But if they pull misdirection from their deck, actually, yeah, pulling misdirection from the deck makes more sense. I think we should call program. Clearing 3 tags. I didn't think they would do that like that. We just got some raspberry Tim Tams, so good, and the white chalk ones. How many Tim Tams do you have? We have like 3 in our store. But I understand it's more of a thing there. I think we have regular and caramel. I want to get this down eventually. We'll get this so we can jam. Oh, is this where we trash this? We'll go down to 4 credits. That's pretty bad. This will put us down to 6 credits. What is this server? Double Funhouse? I'm gonna undo that. Okay. My mom sends them over to the USA. I steal them before my kids see them. Trash tab, ditch both. Yeah, I think you're right. There's not a real world that we're going to afford to res this. Trash pad tab is definitely relevant. I need to do that sooner than later. I just want to make sure that we have enough money for Funhouse, though. You can trash for 2 credits? Oh, huge. Yeah, you're right. They're tagged. Oh, I'm kicking myself on that. Yeah. I was going to actually pay 3 like a schmuck. Hey. Oh, they cleared the tag. Bummer. Oh, yeah. Now they get Pantograph trigger. So they can install a card. They only have 1 credit. They install it for not 1 cheaper. They get the credit. There's not much they can install here. Yeah, I really regret not trashing this last turn. You do know how it works with pad tap around here. Only bring the exotic Aussie flavors like Vegemite and kangaroo. The good old kangaroo Tim Tam. This one comes in yeast flavor. Yay. Do we go down to 2 credits? No, that sounds disgusting. Disgusting. 2 credits? I'm doing it. Oh, it feels so bad. I just have to do it. There's no way that we're not doing it. They can trash this. Okay, if you're disgusted by that play, you're correct. That was bad. Dipping down to 2 credits is awful. I just don't know how they recover from this. Like, they really need to get down Rizekis, which they need to rejig largely so that we'll get our event credits. If they run, we drop the news. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, worked out. Okay, we're out of the financial hole. We do need to jam things. Scoring another quantum predictive is okay. I don't like install advancing Bologna when we have these many cards in hand. So I think we're just gonna like kind of slow down. We could just install this. Consulting is nice if they're hard hitting news. Sometimes it's even correct, honestly, to consult for economic. Slow roll Bologna, yeah, I think we can push it. Server 2. Probably don't want to advance. It's all a ruse to produce some news. Here, we could get the sheet on the table. It's fine. It's an option if we need it. I think a second Funhouse is a bit unlikely. Resource could be okay here, too. May as well naked install Rashida. Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. Cascasm 2. Event is being called. Again, we saw, I think they're on Aesop's as well, but they're also on spec work. Spec work reminds you only trashes a program. So this is a Harbinger face down. They can't trash it. It's not a program when it's face down. It has no subtypes. Hey, there's the pawn shop. There's the Beth. Okay. I don't think we want to trigger this. No, I don't think we do. The economy's not great. At this point, they're going to get 3 credits. So they're going to be at 5 credits next turn. So it's a bit better than it used to be. I'll put this in a new remote. I'm going to keep calling event. Resource would have been a good call here. Because they probably have like creative commissions, maybe even VRcation in hand. So maybe we're holding them back here. But a lot of times you want to wait until there's 2 of the same kind in hand. So you can play 2 events. So you're not giving 2 credits one turn, 2 credits the next turn. They're running support that a naked Bologna might even be okay to set up the exchange. I think their money's going to be a bit bigger than we think. Like they're at 6 this turn. And they're going to get money when we score the Bologna too. So it's deceptive once the runner is set up with like Aesop's how fast they can go. Like they're going to get 3 credits every turn. That's a lot. I think at some point we have to stop calling event, but then they're going to just like dump their hand with events. This is the issue with Asmari I don't love. Is that once you feel like something isn't working, then you change and then it's suddenly working. Running server 3. I don't love these sort of runs, right? Like now they're really weak, especially if they're installing something here. Like now we just hard hitting and use them again. Like now they're on 1 credit. We can't economic warfare. This is 4 if able, so it's not lose. If it doesn't say if able, they'd lose as much as they can. But now it's like we can't. It's either score this or harding news. I think we do. We don't care to score this. I think we just do credit harding news. Because this is safe. If they steal it, we can exchange. Whatever. Have some tags. And of course, they can pull out from their deck. I'm going to call program here. Because I think we're only worried about misdirection. Actually, they'll have 6 credits. 7 credits. I'm calling event. We did draw all 3 of these. We've gone through half our deck, right? Like you have to assume that the corporation has another one. we have to remember to trash this before we res this. I don't think I would have. Yeah, daily cast, Beth. And they can pawn something. You generally pawn the casts. They pawn the simul chip? Why would they pawn the simul chip? Like, you can pawn the casts to gain more money off of it. Pawning the simul chip, it can't be correct, right? Like, if you pawn this, you don't gain 2 credits, you gain 3 credits. It's just better. It's better than letting it tick out. Maybe they need enough money that they need to pawn other stuff so they can get 2 credits of this and 3 credits. Maybe that's correct. I just thought the simul chip would be more impactful. Maybe that is correct. I don't know. It's surprising to me. It's weird, but it might not be entirely wrong because they just need more money as opposed to get the most efficiency from what they have on the table. They're going to have a weird breaker suite where they have Ika or something. The Surveyor is probably not terrible. I do think it's probably... I think the QPM is the worst card in our hand. It does only help us score if we have to do an exchange. I don't want to score this, though. I just want to score another Bologna or food. Cool thing about this is that when your turn ends, you may gain 2 credits the first time each turn. So if we name a like hardware or program or resource, I guess it has to be any of those, and they play with Pantograph, we actually gain the money. So there's a reason to not call event. Yeah, but now they pawned their casts. No, they didn't. Did they pawn? They pawned the simul chip they installed. Interesting. Rob, I think 57 card Woo is not like a meme. I think this is a competitive deck. I think it did well at Worlds. Our money is like really bad. Just be a dirtbag, only do what you want. Only play to the win con you feel like. Yeah, I think we really need to call program at some point. Now they're running Spin Doctor. Again, it's another run. So second Rizeki. I do think we will, because we just want to draw anyways, right? So we'll put back in, I think we'll just put 2 Rashidas to start. We'll res this. Hopefully we get a 5-3. Yeah, nailed it. And we'll shuffle this back. So we can install advanced hard hitting. It's not a really good fork. Why pawn simul? I don't know. I think you'd pawn, I think they just want more money. But yeah, I think I wouldn't pawn the simul chip. I think the simul chip is useful. On its own, it's an econ card. It installs things, right? I guess we could shuffle the QPM. I don't think we really care. Yeah, whatever. I don't think we care. And it's either, I'm going to take a hedge fund. Our money's not great. I perform, yeah, that's right too, Giles. I haven't seen a lot of Aesop Big Woo. Anything that requires like extra pieces to set up feels a bit antithetical when your deck is that big. If they click for a credit here, it's a disaster for them. Because they've technically been playing around economic warfare. If they click for credit, yeah, that's better. If they went to 4, then they go down to 0. Like, you don't want to go to 4 after you ran. Okay, well. We can just do install advance. We'll have 6 credits. They have to get through a funhouse. They're going to start their turn at 4-5. Maybe they'll pawn this 8 credits. Like, that's a lot. Like, I don't feel entirely comfortable here. Do we just slow roll this? What do we do? What do you do here? Do we economic warfare them? We'd have to pay a lot. Huh. I want to keep going. Install an HHN. Okay. Yeah, buys us the window. They've cleared 8 tags so far. Yeah, I know. I know. Here we're gonna call program though, because I think they're more likely here to pull out a misdirection. I hate the fact that if we call anything else, if we call, do we change an event? Do we change to event? Because they have no doubt they've been hoarding event, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna play program to pull misdirection. What do we change to? I think you overpaid. They had a link. Do we? 6? Oh yeah, we did overpay by 1, didn't we? Because they have 3, 4. Yeah, I overpaid by 1. Always call event. Hey, do you mind? He was dodging Beth? An important one. Yeah, kind of I was dodging Beth. Maybe that was smart. No, I think our credits are more important than theirs. We can res Funhouse. What do you think we did? If Misdirection was in the deck, they'd have used it by now. Yeah, I'm worried. I think it's definitely in the deck. I'm going to call event. Whatever. I'm just sure that they were scared to pull it and remove it. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they would have used it. Maybe they forgot it's in the deck. Because I think they're learning this deck, right? Yeah, playing it under Beth is actually like kind of somewhat reasonable. Let's see if they pawn something. I don't think you need the pantograph. You can pawn the pantograph if you really need money now. We also have 5 credits, which means we can credit consulting visit. Okay. So we can go advance. They will be on maybe 5 credits on their turn. Kind of ugly. Honestly, kind of ugly. Don't know how to get out of this. We're out of hard-hitting newses. We're out of hard-hitting newses. What do we do? We can't exchange. If they steal it, we can exchange. No, maybe not. I'm surprised they didn't woo at the orbs earlier. Yeah, I know. They could have. Maybe they had rejigs they want to play. Advance credit. Okay. I don't know if we're ever going to play the Surveyor. Economic Warfare seem okay. 2 of them seems like too much. Now if they run it, like we maybe have an exchange. Yeah, they just realized that misdirection my deck. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Yeah, misdirection is incredibly powerful for this. Playing Seamless Launch in NBN is also very good fun, and nobody expects it. Index too big moment. So let's see what they do here. Now, misdirection, mind you, is this card, which is like a very niche card that specifically deals with tags. Trashing ASOS might have been okay, but don't install a new one. Yeah, it's worth considering. If we do that, like we can't score out. But yeah, I think it's worth considering. We ducked Beth, which is cute. Let's see what they do here. 4 credits means we can't really res much. They have to worry about IP block, which will end the run because they're tagged. You'd have to worry slightly about Jua, but not really. Unfortunately, we don't have any of that. In fact, we can't res any of our ice on the table besides Jua. Let's see if they call us here. They're thinking, and you want to take your time on this one. It's a very niche card in the same way that tagging the runner is very niche strategy. Every game in this meta that isn't HB. Ruketha, in terms of what? Oh, wow. Going R&D. Not what I was expecting. A lot of times, even if you can't res the ice, you should take some time and like pretend you're thinking about it. We knew we couldn't res 10, but like, why betray that? We can't obviously tell on JNet. Did they just hit a Bologna here? They run archives. Like, maybe they're setting up a deep dive. I don't know. I don't think this deck has deep dive in it. I do not like the look of that card. Is it Boom? They can trash Boom. Is it another Yogurt? Maybe it's another Yogurt. Overclock Remote would be ideal. Yeah, Overclock Remote would be really good. They would get 2 credits. What did they see that they're upset about? Like, all hard-hitting news are out. Like, that's the biggest deal. Like, we can't give them more tags. Probably just HHN. It can't be. We've seen all of them. I guess we win. They did play VRcation. It wasn't hand. Okay, so that's it. We just score it. I'm surprised they didn't even run this. Maybe they knew it's Bologna, but maybe you have to make us make the call. It's the hedge fund. What did they see? Probably economic. Yeah, it's economic. That makes sense. Okay, good game. 42 credits gained by both sides. Yeah, this thing's scary, but again, once we've played all 3 hard-hitting news, it's not really, it's just annoying. It's anti-hedge fund. It's not like something you really have to play around, and they've been technically playing around it pretty well. They kept on 3 credits. There was one turn where they clicked to 4 credits. They would have absolutely got like hosed way harder. The thing is, they could for sure steal that one. Yeah, they could have, if they knew exactly what it was, they could have for sure stolen it. Technically, if they do overclock, it gets a bit more interesting because then we actually have, I think, 6 credits. So there's more ice that we can consider resing. I don't know if we res a funhouse into that. We probably do. Yeah, misdirection helps. You weren't pulling it, so I stopped considering calling program. Yeah, they couldn't steal 2 in a row and clear 2 tags. Yeah, so eventually they get forked, hopefully. For what it's worth, like if they just use ASOPs every turn to trash stuff, like I think that turn, if they needed more money, like they didn't ASOPs anything. I don't think they did, right? But like you could clearly just ace ops like your DZ. You could ace ops your Pantograph. Like if you're gonna lose this turn, because I have installed advanced band something in the remote, this stuff does not carry over to your next game, obviously, right? Like just the beauty of ace ops is anything is credits. If you need credits now, rip your board up. Like anything is money, right? I did ace ops every turn. I think you missed one or two. You missed the last one you did ace ops. Oh, the last one? Yeah. I saw Eco Warfare in the deck. Oh, yeah, for sure. Hesitant on running? Yeah, for what it's worth, Mizuki, like the economic warfare doesn't matter that much because we played all 3 hard-hitting news. And as long as you keep underneath 4 credits, it doesn't do anything. If you're on 3 credits, it's a blank card. But like even if you see that off the top of R&D and we have the winning agenda of the remote server, like you have to do something, right? And I know you don't know it's a winning agenda. It could be anything. Like if it's a quantum predictive model, it's just free points for us. But I think you have to make the call. All of your install cards carry over to the next game. Oh, that'd be so sick. That'd be so cool. Well, good game. Cool. It's a fun deck, Rob. Shame it rotates. Ow, that hurt. Good game. Okay, cool. So we will be back in a week. I've said this before. We'll have our spoilers video on Monday. UI's Last Wild Ride. We'll have spoilers on Monday, and very importantly, the set comes out on Friday. On Saturday morning, we will be streaming from our friend John's place. He has a setup to stream like an actual tabletop. So Patrick is going to go to his printer and print out a bunch of cards from the set. And we are going to play them. And we're really excited. We're going to do some deck building. We're going to try and play as much, like we're going to explore all the new mechanics. And it's going to be Saturday morning. I don't know how long the stream's going to be. I also don't know what it's going to look like. It's John's setup. It's probably pretty good. I haven't tried it, but it's pretty exciting. I'm really excited to see these cards on table for the first time. I think also Sanjay is streaming Saturday morning with the new stuff. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Pat told me a bit before the stream, so we'll check that out if you can, early Saturday morning. I think that's largely it. We'll be back in a week. Enjoy your spoiler season. Stay tuned. Nisei has some more stuff coming out. And of course, there's so many people on the community that are dropping their stuff left, right, and center. Hopefully we'll figure out tomorrow what that HB card does. But that's it for us. We'll be back on Monday with a new video. I got to finish a bit of it tonight and tomorrow morning and on Sunday night. But that's largely it. Huge shout out to everyone hanging out in chat, talking about the spoilers. If you're watching this not live and there's something we didn't talk about, something you're really excited about, let us know in the YouTube comments. I read all of them and respond to as much as I can. And shout out to everyone we played games with. Shout out to Rob. We do everything here for Rob, that's for sure. And we'll be back in a bit less than a week, huh? It would be great if you do the same kind of vids like Gateway again. Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely will. It's 65 cards. We've seen already 7 of them, so we will do a review for those. I don't know how timely they'll be. August is... Nah, it's not that busy. We'll take a vacation at some point. Where the hell is this coming from? What do you mean, Rob? It's nothing in particular. I was just goofing around. We just called the deck for Rob, and it's the only deck we played. Thanks for the stream. Cheers. Big happy birthday at restaurant vibes for Rob. Yeah, right? Where everyone embarrasses him. Let's sing a song. Let's sing a song, but not the copyrighted one. Thank you. Hopefully you're doing well. We'll see you in a couple days.